All right, so where we left off from last week was... Oh, yeah, my cable. I'll do that in my pants,
How
too.
many weeks has it been since I was here so I can put down how much money
We did
The same. We didn't lose any time.
No, we had the
Oh.
three.
It was
only
only
a
a day
day.
later. And you were here last session, so yeah.
You've only been
So
gone.
the PCs, the one session that you were gone...
3 weeks.
for 3 weeks, but we don't get that 3 weeks pay.
You did get 3 weeks paid.
You would say.
You already marked it down. You and Ben did.
No, she wasn't here last week.
We know.
Yeah, you
So
said
then,
she was.
so there was... Excuse me. I thought you was missing the previous one. So then you'd have the 3 weeks, technically, of downtime that the PCs spent prior to going back into the dreamland.
Cause you guys said that you like research for 3
I think you helped someone. I think you helped him
Yeah,
do reading.
something.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get 3 weeks of pay, or 1.5 pay cycles.
You guys haven't really questioned it, but it seems like Obduro generally just pays you unless there's some sort of outside event. And from what you're aware, some of the PCs have sent back very detailed reports about incidences, and nobody's ever really questioned it. The only
Go
thing
straight
was
to the shredder.
the only thing that had even been mentioned was Nathan Dweller asked for updates on people's position just in case they went missing. So otherwise, he'll know when to send a search party if one is needed. So the PCs could disappear for like 2 months, but unless otherwise told, I mean, should they send a search party? Are they somewhere? Who knows?
Anymore, just leave a forwarding address with Lisa Mortensen.
Yep.
If you leave for an extended period of time, blah, blah.
Unlike the rest of the team, I keep updating Lisa Mortensen.
Oh yeah.
Timely,
The-
professional manner.
The telegrams that had been received by the or was it sent from the construction crew at Smallwood were just sitting in there until Daniel came back, and
We're like, oh, it's not our dime.
All right, but you do have 3 weeks. You can decide what you want to do. The time pretty much takes place. Most of them were researching on what specifically to do with the Hag of Zais.
Yep.
However, you can work on various other things. It probably would be focused somewhat in that aspect, but you can have something other. I would say part of your time, at least a week, would be working with Thomas. And
Well, I don't.
What
I'll
was it?
just do what they were asking me to
it was
do.
some you were trying to research some sort of spell or something or other with her.
You were
I can't
helping
remember
him
offhand.
with death spells.
The death spells?
Do you know any necromancy?
Well, I know
She
where
just
to
knows
get
thaumatology.
necromancy.
I'll have to double check my records.
I don't recall. I thought I just was in London working on with the book and having some chantry help.
Yeah, I can't remember offhand either. It's been a long
I
week.
just wanted to know how much money I got. That's all.
3 weeks from past, so it's one pay period. It could be 2. I'm not sure. Steve usually has the notes regarding that. All right. So from here, for the most part, the PCs wake back up in Kenya. That's you from there. There is the individual, Jamal. Where are we? Jamal Azhared.
Or you haven't teleported there, didn't you?
You teleported to Kenya, or at least to the island.
How did the PCs defeat? I didn't get to watch all of
The
it.
previous one?
I know that Hunter fought her with love.
You're not sure what happened specifically. That's what Hunter might have told you. They sent them down. The cats, along with some of the other PCs, created enough light to get to the well. Then they sent Hunter down. About an hour later, or 2.
That was the plan. I went. He destroyed Life Avenue. He went another avenue. He went another avenue.
I have magic bullets now.
He went life-destroying bullets.
Or
Don't remember
rockets.
what Jeb went for.
Yep.
The Hunter
Tip gyro
chose a
rockets.
diplomacy, curse breaking through loophole concept, and he had to go down without violence. So he went down without us, which is really rare to put Hunter down without violence. I just like
I
to say
studied
that.
counter spells during that time.
So that's what we did. We kind of had those 4 focuses, 4 areas. We were working on destroying life. He was working on countering magics, and Jeb was working on seduction.
2 hours later, the darkness subsided and Hunter teleported back. He was missing an arm. Shortly thereafter, the center of the city started to kind of rock and sway, and some of the buildings collapsed. But ultimately, the cats moved back. The rest of the PCs moved back, and water started coming out of a lot of the fountains that were just filled with silt prior. And the cats slowly moved back into the area. Hunter's arm later on reappeared for no reason that anyone was able to tell specifically.
We heard
And,
get out of town, didn't we?
No,
Run.
You guys didn't hear any of that. And then the cats seemed to move back in, and then they were getting used to the new area. Or the area they had once called home, but were forced out of.
And then
we moved in and searched most of the area. What we really found was the abuse
3 statues.
symbol on 3 statues. Researched it, found out that it was a symbol for change. Learned it, me and Zeb learned it. And
Did you put any points into it?
yes, I did. Okay. And we tried it on something, and it's the coolest, most freaky, dangerous, most wildest, funky stuff that is like all new language. It basically opens up the pattern for alteration by will, desire. You put it on a piece of wood, you carve it in, you power it up. It takes a few moments, and the thing just kind of goes into a. What was the
radio?
It's like you crack the top open,
very hard.
and go in there and play with it. You can turn people into mud. You can turn mud into flesh. You can turn trees into wood or turn trees into steel. Turn
It's all
steel into paper.
Theoretical. Nobody's accomplished anything as of that.
Nobody's done anything with this.
They just destroyed one.
No, we didn't destroy. We put the symbol on an owl repeatedly and didn't see any change.
There was
until we
a-
looked really close.
There was a small animal statue inside the city, and they had carved it in, and then, from what they could tell, the whole thing went into a state of flux, and then, for whatever reason, reverted to a state prior to being carved into. So, not sure.
So then we hunted around. I don't think we found really anything else besides like that.
We didn't spend too much time.
You didn't spend a whole lot of time there.
If you want, we could stay in Kenya and we could practice our dreaming here with Jamal.
Okay. I gotta learn body language too.
Okay. So we'll go
Can
through
we
the.
take Hunter back to Brooklyn since he's our teleportation source?
You could. He would have to draw a gate here, and he could connect it to the Brooklyn warehouse where the Steely Stone's sitting.
But that's not his MO.
No, his MO's changed.
Yeah.
Starts drawing things now.
We'll see how long it lasts.
He can draw a sigil here, and these guys can destroy it afterwards if they want. So yeah,
So-
I don't have any reason to stay. I mean, Kenya's nice and warm and comfortable. I don't even know what time of year it is, but
It's sometime late June, early July.
I'm good with. I don't need any more heat.
Actually, it's probably now kind of mid-July because
It's winter.
yep. So, mind you, this is Kenya, so it's southern hemisphere. All right. So, anyone want to decide what they want to do from here? They can ultimately try to get transportation outside of Kenya. You do know that there is at least one chantry inside of the Cairo area, and you could take various public transportation or try to get a hike or something or other up in that area. What have you?
You can't just take Dusty.
You could try to take Dusty if you want to go through that route.
What was his character's name?
Hunter.
Whatever symbol, if they use a sigil, frog, or Frank, we'll piggyback off their symbol or sigil to get back to Brooklyn. If they leave from, so we'll set up our own little. We'll piggyback off.
Up to you. I'll say Hunter will take you wherever you want to go.
Back to Brooklyn?
Yeah, I got no reason to stay. So.
I have algae to harvest.
I mean, I got nothing to do with Darren Exesius, the Obduro African contact. If he contacts me, I got no.
Yep. You personally are only aware of Nathan Dweller. Some of the PCs have contacted Margaret Thane. Rather than that, you'll know the other one, Charles Anholt in London. You've had a couple meetings with, and he's fairly young for one of the regional directors, but he seems like a fairly knowledgeable individual.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're aware that there's a few other ones, but you haven't really had come into contact with them.
So yeah, I want to be. Yeah, Brooklyn.
All right.
To Brooklyn.
Make some rolls here. All right. He takes some time setting up the sigil. It does seem to be correct. Those of you with symbol drawing. Beyond that, who's going to Brooklyn? At least through this first one. You guys are going possibly later on.
Can we take
Alright.
Frank with us? Do you have any?
Depends. I'd say.
I'm
Julian, you
staying
can
here to work on cat stuff.
Okay. So Frank is going to stay here with you then.
Oh, Frank. Frank.
Frank?
I thought it was Frank.
It is, but it's Frank.
He's not too far away from some areas where he might want to collect resources here in Africa. Otherwise, I suppose he also has his free clinic in Brooklyn.
I think we probably go back there then.
Okay. You guys set up on the sigil. There's a mild disorientation when you arrive inside of Brooklyn. Otherwise, it just kind of feels a little bit like a how would I put it? It feels like you get all kind of turned around, but you don't actually feel any kind of velocity change whatsoever. You're just mildly disoriented. So you do arrive in the the Brooklyn warehouse. You do have your minor lab set up there, and then you're not too far away from B's residence, which is about an hour and 25 minutes north of here.
Frank said he was gonna help him with his algae thing to make sure that it was set up correctly.
That happened the last week. It's only started producing since the last time, so there's still going to be...
Should have
with Gabriel
one now,
Bruce.
right? Because we're on the third week.
One vial.
At the end of this, theoretically, at the end of this week, you should be able to harvest.
Okay.
You'd set it up prior, but it wasn't working exactly how you wanted it to. And then coming into the third week, before you guys went back to the Dreamlands, you had him help him set it up, and now it has to sit and grow in. The basics behind it is while you're allowing this kind of low-level life form to grow and replicate, it's slowly building up life force, and at a certain point you ultimately dump the algae into a very toxic environment and use alchemy and various pieces of equipment to harvest the life force as it escapes from the algae, and you need a fairly large bath to get any kind of reasonable amount from it, and that's why it generally takes the course of a week to get 1 unit. You don't necessarily need 1 unit to do stuff with. It's just kind of your basic measurement, like I would say a gram. You could get milligrams out of it, but generally speaking, I'm talking about grams of pure substance.
So I can squeeze it out if I have to before a fight or something.
Otherwise, you guys are staying back in town with Jamal. Jamal is happy to have you, especially he is a Bastite, as you probably had deduced right the fuck away.
Yeah.
Otherwise, rather than having a specific familiar, he more works for the cats themselves. It's fairly easygoing. He mostly just takes care of the home here, but occasionally he redirects other individuals and other Bastites in the area to do other various works. He primarily contacts what he will say is his master in the Dreamlands, a Tadha, and he describes the cat as I depicted before, where kind of the spotted, almost leopard-looking small cat.
Yep. What is her name?
Tadha. And the queen of that particular city was called Sunyata. Alright. Otherwise, on your first week, you guys were planning on trying to re-enter the Dreamlands. What Jamal will tell you is prior he used a concoction, an alchemical concoction, to, I suppose, put you in a deep slumber and stealthily get you to the city. There has been a creature known as the Devourer of Dreams. Let me double check if I have the name offhand here. I probably just say the Devourer of Dreams. And there's been a war trying to kind of stop this, a giant amorphous entity from literally deconstructing and consuming, turning the Dreamlands into more of itself. So it's displacing the Dreamlands and literally becoming the Dreamlands, but not one that actually could
Produce anything?
Well, not produce anything. Not one that would be hospitable to life as they know it. So, what he warns you is he can try to teach you the ways of dreaming and to get access to certain aspects of the Dreamlands. He says that the city of the cats, Aberana, I think, is fairly well protected and isolated, so it's most likely going to be the one of the last locations that would possibly fall in a fight against this Unmaker of Dreams. But there are other locations in the Dreamlands that he could travel to. The only thing is, he has heard of individuals being attacked on their way to and back from the Dreamlands. People end up being detected moving to this other dimension, if you will.
I let him know
It's really
we need a
an
safe
astral
place
plane.
where Frank and her familiar can communicate in a safe environment,
Okay.
so they could coexist together.
Well, he says that you can communicate to your familiars here, or your cat brethren, through the use of advanced body languages, which he's willing to teach you.
Hey, what was his boss's name? The cat.
Tadha?
And then the queen.
Samyata.
Samyata. Tadha is more of a messenger from Dreamlands cats, and Samyata is a queen of a specific group.
And I'll go through the rundown what Scarlet has taught me.
Mhm.
I know there's more that she could teach me. I just need to learn how to open that, and I know I need to focus on some of the things that she's already taught me to come out. So, and I was hoping that Frank and Pudding could share the same relationship.
For the most part, he says one of the first things you'll need to learn is probably the body language to be able to interpret. There's subtle, what he'll say is, there's a specific knack which, because you have a strong connection to one of the cats of Bast, well, all cats are of Bast, but there's ones in particular that have strong correlation with her. These cats allow you to understand other cats' body language when other people shouldn't normally be able to. The only thing is, if you spend the first week learning that, you can put an asterisk next to your body language.
And the cat.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's not necessarily a new skill, it's just applying to something else. You don't have to pay any points for it, though. You just use your pre-existing body language score to do that.
I don't have body language.
And you need to pick a body language.
How many points can I put into it for 1 week?
For 1 week, given that you're, what is it, he's a relative master at it, you can put 2 points into. Otherwise, while she's being taught that, you can attempt, I suppose, what did you want to try to concentrate on?
During that first week, you told me I could focus on not counter magics, thaumatology through the dreams. So learning
Okay.
different things through the dreams with Scarlet.
Scarlet wouldn't have a strong ability in thaumatology. She would actually have a pretty decent mythos if you wanted to try to increase that. But thaumatology is more of a practical study that the Ordo Hermes do, and they define things in a certain way that is not necessarily true in what Bast believes, but it makes sense to a certain extent. Think of like two parallel like theories. Both of them could be right scientifically, but
Then I'll save that point for thaumatology when I go back.
okay.
Then whatever Scarlet and I can hash
Otherwise,
out.
religious ritual is another thing that she could teach you, and that could be used in place of thaumatology for certain.
What is body language off of?
Body language is normally off of perception.
I do have religious ritual.
At a -1.
That depending on what you're trying to counter
Okay.
is ultimately going to determine what how you might go about it. Standard spells the PCs might know might be thaumatology, but you might also learn certain things from, like, say, Father Jonas would be specifically religious ritual. The woman down there, you're not sure what. She didn't seem to really use any hand gestures. She gotten to a point where she didn't really need whatever the hell she was doing, or it could have been
Not
a
visible
supernatural,
hand gestures.
not visible hand gestures. She could have got to a point where she just didn't need them, or she might have always had the ability to do that, and that would be more difficult to counter.
Then I'll just learn whatever Scarlet can teach me in a week.
Yep. She can increase your religious ritual by 1, or your mythos by up to 2 points in a week.
Oh, dang. I put 2 points into that body language. Then it would make it perception minus what?
I think it's is body language average or easy?
Average.
I have
Average?
2 points in it, and it's a perception plus 0.
Okay, so it's a -1. For 2 points would be 0, based on your perception.
So 2 points in religious ritual.
1 point into religious ritual, or 2 points into mythos.
Mythos, I'm at 4.
Well, you could save that up if you want to do back-to-back, because then you could theoretically another week, you could get 2 and 2, which would be enough to increase mythos.
Or ritual.
Or ritual. And for counter, I say thaumatology, but in actuality, depending on what's being used against you, symbol drawing, religious ritual, what the hell is it? Thaumatology or mythos could be the skill that might help you better counter whatever the hell's happening to you.
Okay. Because I have religious ritual, I have mythos, and I have symbol drawing.
Yep.
So I have all that except for thaumatology. Alright, I'll just learn whatever, like I said, Scarlet. So that week, if she wants to teach me the religious ritual bath, then I'll learn religious ritual bath.
Okay. Otherwise, if you, picking up religious ritual from him, or from Scarlet, you can determine that there are some things that used to happen back in the day when people were trying to gain more power from Bast. They usually involved elaborate rituals that would be citywide. Things of that occasion, and they haven't had any kind of event anywhere near that for a very long time.
Okay.
Occasionally there's kind of summer solstices and other things of that nature that Bastites do, but yeah. What else is there? So we'll go to you guys' first week in downtime.
Go for it, if you want.
I'm saying go ahead unless you're not ready.
I am going to hit the books and learn about the material science.
So chemistry or engineering materials?
I already have chemistry, so
Okay.
I'm going to do engineering materials.
Okay. You can be a research.
It's by... Sorry, just spaced it. By 6?
You made it by 6?
Yep.
You can put up to 2 points into engineering materials over the first week.
Alright.
Otherwise, you did purchase, I believe, engineering and clockwork or steamwork.
I did both, actually.
If you ever started to work on those, you'd need new concepts rolls that would add to your previous concept rolls in Hypertech.
Okay.
For essentially, now that you have more understanding of various other pieces of technology, you could redevelop your concept and then work on a new prototype. You need the concept, then you start to work on the basics of actually building the damn prototype.
Yeah, so my concern is I saw the way we go through money here, and I'm thinking that if I can get my material science up, my chemistry with advanced,
Theoretically, make some way to make money.
I can justify some independent income.
Yep.
So
Well, mind you, if you actually do it in game, you don't have to spend character points on it. If you want to say that it happens and you do put character points into it, you don't need to roleplay it.
okay. Well, since I'm spending points for this, right?
For what? The skill you are,
Yeah. Sorry.
but you mentioned independent income. There's multiple ways of getting that. Based on your skills, you theoretically could say that you were working on something and spend the skills and kind of fast track it, or you could just get independent income by actually doing the role playing for it. Steve's character got all his money from a series of events and gameplay.
She money grubbed.
Gold digger. She married a rich individual before he went missing. And according to the laws, they legally declared him dead.
What, like minutes before he went missing?
Yep.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Did ever heard that part of the story?
Technically, they were, what the hell have you? They were dating, and I think they were a fiancé, and
When he was
prior
about
to that,
to dematerialize.
however, before he dematerialized, he tried to give her a ring, which went with him. But those people, those eyewitnesses, she did say yes. Sufficient. The people in the Numismatic Society, along with Omar Bahowden, what the hell is it?
This is my spell list.
Signed up as witnesses, so...
Alright, so, well, that's...
That'll be your first week of
That's
learning
my
skills.
I guess. First of all, I'd like to talk to a girl about also getting warehouse space.
Okay.
But
For the most part, you can rent out, and I think, what did I quote you on the...
You
usage
have,
of the warehouse.
Just one room?
No.
I guess I don't really even need
I got several.
an Obduro warehouse, just like a
One,
warehouse
two.
space in general.
For the most part, these are warehouses near the docks
Three.
in New York.
I got 3.
Obduro can probably lend you part of that one for probably about $6 a month. It's pretty reasonable, but it's through Obduro. It's just it's enough to cover the lighting and kind of other small expenses for the warehouse.
Can I do that then?
You can. There is one other individual that has put up some divider walls in the back of the warehouse for his lab, Thomas.
Thanks
Otherwise,
for letting me
you are aware that there is a Steely stone sitting not too far away from you. Beyond that, the ramifications if you don't have thaumatology. I think both of you have thaumatology. Both of you know that it is literally a dimensional, not a dimensional, but a spatial door. So,
What are they doing? They're setting up labs?
yep, lab space in the Obduro warehouse.
Okay, I thought they were gonna live in a warehouse. I'm like, no.
Jack did originally for a while until he found a cheaper warehouse with Jeb.
Yeah. And then he moved back to...
Yep. Then he got free accommodations with Steve's new character, and is working currently as a little bit of an alchemist and pseudoscientist up at B's facility. He's not super great at it, but he's learning. Actually, given how many points he's probably accumulated, he might be actually pretty decent at it now. Steve hasn't updated the character, but if B dies, that'll probably be his backup.
Because now he can get legs. Because now we know people.
Yeah.
So, after getting the warehouse, I guess I'll spend a few days and maybe some money to set up 2 algae tanks in there.
Okay.
I'm guessing it's just a tank, right? There's not.
There's a series of pumps and other things of that nature, because what you want to have happen is, based on a certain timer mechanism, it ultimately flushes half the tank through a separation process, then kills the algae that have moved to the new tank system, and then it still collects the vital essence and it collects the vital essence while filtering out the biomass.
So it does it for me?
Yep. Otherwise, you'd have to sit there babysit it every day.
Okay.
And so what you have is a series of 2 large tanks, probably I want to say 80 gallon to 100 tank. Was it 80 gallon to 100 gallon tanks? And they filter through. It takes up the size of like I'd say a medium-sized room. You could fit 2 of them there in the other space. You could condense it and make them, not condense it, how would I put it? You could put more inside of there, but it would give you less walking room.
Algae to grow on. How about that?
Well, they don't actually need surface area for the algae to grow on. Ultimately, you can end up having, there's certain types of ocean aquatic algae that just kind of,
Well,
it certainly.
So here's what I'm imagining for the
Yeah.
tanks. I'm imagining kind of like this, maybe like a foot thick by a pretty tall tank. So, just because warehouses are tall.
Yep, they are.
So I'm kind of imagining it like that with all the little hoses underneath and stuff.
Yeah, you can develop something like that. I'd probably say you had a standard tank. That's what at least Franck set up. You can give me a machinist role and redesign kind of the layout of it. You'd have to bolt a larger kind of flat tank to the wall of the warehouse that goes up farther, and then just kind of move around some of the pipes.
So I see the guy reading his books over there, and I'm like,
That's in an engineering lab. He might know something about putting things together.
He
tells you, he's like,
walls full
you
of
see this,
intricate gear
you see
patterns.
these cubicle tanks? I want to make them more flat and run up the wall.
If he needed anyone to babysit the algae, he could
I
make
grab
like,
the tools.
You can give me a machinist role. I would say it's a machinist out of 1. It's just going to take a few days to do it.
if he needed anyone to babysit the algae, he can use
So theoretically,
those
this is eating up a
puppets.
little bit of your time into
Or
the
you can get
next
one of
week.
B's engineers
and I'll
to
just
do
be
it.
like, I'll give you some money when I get it going. Or some magic bullets, your choice. Magic rockets.
Well, the rockets aren't really magical for the most. Well,
Don't spoil my fun.
the tips are. The tips are alchemical tipped.
I make it by 5.
Oh, easily. So I'd say probably a day and a half. You have them lay out the basics of what you want to get, and you make some orders to some nearby companies for just kind of the panes of glass. And I'd probably say, what do we have here? I'll probably say about $72 worth of material, and then you'd most likely hire contractors to do a little bit of it, just because it's not anything that would require complex engineering. You just need somebody to like
Bolt it up.
it up, frame it up, or things like that. And you're like, yeah, sure, I'll pay you what your minimum wage salary is. It's just
And
get that set up.
I'll help with that. And I take, I figure out what you need. Quick, draw it up. Take this to this guy at New York Iron.
You use up a lot of the wall space, but you can ultimately get 3 of these units up and running. So theoretically, you could harvest about 3 per week. They would require minor maintenance, and of course, you'd be doing this on a ladder, depending on which area that you're working on.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit more. It requires a little bit more maintenance. However, technically, you might have a maintenance guy in the area that might be willing to help you occasionally work on the system. The biomass is ultimately filtered. Right now, you'd most likely have it dumped into the sewer system. If there was some sort of contamination that could contaminate some of the local sewer lines, what do you think the possibility of that is pretty low?
Magic crocodiles. Oh wow.
Is there a known purification room or something that could be put in lieu of the drain cover, so everything that passed by it was purified as well?
Well, ultimately, part of the collection apparatuses he had set up prior to collect the life force does a little bit of that. There's very little that gets through that isn't. He could develop some sort of alchemical drain system to complete, like, I suppose, double filter whatever's going out. It'd take a little bit more time, though. Anyone with alchemy, you don't know of a symbol offhand that would do it.
We don't care about that.
You're pretty confident you should be getting like 99.9% of whatever is moving out through here. So it's only if something underneath happened to be adept at picking up and collecting the remaining vital essence, you theoretically could end up with something down there, like rats of unusual size.
If he needed any help with construction, Frank knows the Irish people that work on Obduro, and they could do that.
That's something that he'd work out with Frank. Otherwise, you should be generally getting about 3 per week in a vital essence.
And that's not including the one at Beast Lab, right? That's separate.
If you wanted to hook up separate ones here, I'm assuming that you try to take one of the tanks that had been previously set up as and just kind of convert it. If you wanted to spend an additional $32, you could completely start with fresh stuff here.
Okay.
So, depending, you'd have to spend at least a couple days per. I wouldn't say a couple days. You'd have to spend a couple hours per week doing this. So if you're out of town for 2 to 3 weeks, they'll shut down after about 2 weeks.
Okay.
Just because there's nobody there. Automated tasks that aren't terribly adept at this time period. So there's nothing automatically clearing up the filters. You need to manually replace certain things and tighten things up, other things of that nature.
Make those wax puppets, like Minecraft, where they go, oh, I'm gonna pick up this thing.
He could try. I'm just saying what's limiting him right now. If he wants to work on something in the future or anything else of that nature, it requires minor maintenance.
So I can get these set up this week.
More simulacrums? That's what we need.
Get them
For the most part, they can start at the end of the week. Yep.
Okay, so then it's like a 3-week time period before they start producing.
Yep.
Okay.
And it takes up a significant amount of wall space, but otherwise your floor space is pretty clear. But it'd be difficult without hooking up another warehouse.
Kind of roll.
You could.
But cleaning would be difficult or something?
Maintenance would be much more difficult, and you'd be worried if one of these systems goes down, then you're going to have to move things around just to get access to...
Okay, I'll just have cool water walls then.
Theoretically, if you had the right team together or had a large enough space, you could create a large Vital Essence farm. But at that point, you'd want actual technicians staying here, monitoring things. What if tank like 132 went down, went sour, and it's starting to affect the other thing? The strange thing about Vital Essence, and when you're dealing with a life form, is theoretically contaminated Vital Essence could cause a mutation in the algae, which could manage to break out and get to other tanks. And thus you would end up losing a lot of your tanks. You'd most likely have to burn the area.
I don't really have to worry too much about evil algae, do I?
The thing is, it's similar to, think of it like a bacteria. While plants do grow, algae grow fairly quickly, with the application of Vital Essence, it adds a kind of a mutagen, a multiplier on top of it.
I thought this was just positive life force. I thought Vital Essence was what I got from the water. That's different.
Ultimately, as the algae, what you're collecting is the life force in the form of Vital Essence from the algae.
Okay.
So And this life force and vital essence essentially is dead energy from the plankton. As they grow and continue to grow, they build up life force, and you collect it as vital essence. And it has a strong vital essence has a very strong life resonance, which you can use for most of your applications. So the thing is, while normally a small amount of it wouldn't do anything, but theoretically say you're gone for 3 weeks, and a large amount of it kind of gets backed up, and that pure vital essence starts to go back into the system. At this point, you're essentially adding strong life resonance to a pool of plants, and they might pick it up. They might not, but it could. And at that point in time, they become alchemically charged plankton. So the ramifications of that, you're not quite sure what would happen, and your systems just shut down after a certain amount of time. Otherwise, if you disappeared for like 4 months or something, you don't know what the hell would happen to the warehouse. Like, I don't remember that giant tree there.
You need to have someone check it.
So
Someone watch over it.
With what you have right now, probably about 4 or 5 hours during the week should be sufficient. If you start setting up a small farm, you're going to require somebody, either yourself or some other technician that's trained in alchemy and vital essence collection to maintain the systems here. Even a little bit of machinist, which if you don't have machinist, you occasionally will need help to deal with things, just because vital essence is fairly pure, so in some instances it can rot away certain types of metallic drains and other things like that very quickly.
A lot of stainless.
So is there a maintenance guy in the warehouse, you think?
No.
Yeah, there's nobody here. Me.
Nope, yep, it's just him. That's what I meant by maintenance guy. There's a guy who has a lab here that spends time, and if he's kind enough to help you, like he has before.
And when you're out
You can
fighting
find the
bad
right things
things,
straight for it.
I'm right alongside of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
The basic machinist work is not that difficult. Technically, any kind of technician that you hire inside the city, but I suppose you might want somebody that won't freak out in case something weird happens.
My trade would be, who do you want to push?
It's like
Yourself some Irish guy with a little Irish lore behind him, a little Gaelic lore.
You still got.
maybe,
It's like
Still
you
got
won't
some people
be
with the
too
Chinese.
freaked out by the.
I got things.
but that's what you have to worry about in the future.
Okay.
Otherwise, there's the one up at B's facility that you have to go upstate New York, which would add a few more hours per week.
Well, she
Some other crap that I haven't quite.
Depending-
They're not evil,
she
they're
had
pretty strong
technicians
demons.
there.
Yep, and they work on various things, so you can
Yeah.
determine with Steve
I
in
don't
the
have
future if
pockets
he's going to
even on that
dedicate
one.
people on his crew to watch over one of your
That's
experiments.
just in cash.
He might
don't
decide
want
it's worth it. He might not.
Magic
I'm not gonna-
bullets,
They want-
rockets.
I'm not going to say what he's going to put on
They
various
want
tasks. He
antiquities
already has a
of equal value.
fair amount of people working on various projects.
Yeah,
All right, but that's you guys' first week, and at the end of the week, you can start counting the next week's as for
Could
collecting.
have unleashed a lot of stuff, and I just can't do
That
it.
was
I'm like,
So I set up the bees tank at
So,
the beginning of 3 weeks.
You would be able to
right?
harvest 1 unit of vital essence from the stuff that's over at B's facility. The rest of the tanks start at the end of this week, so you'd count from here.
Okay.
And if you do not collect them, you have enough for essentially 3 per tank. So after 3 weeks, they'll just shut down.
So I get one from bees.
Yep, you'll get 1 from
Okay.
B's.
I'm just gonna keep calling it.
And for the
wax.
most part, you can boil it down and put it into wax if you want.
Okay.
It's not the same as the life wax. Just write vital essence.
Yeah, it's a vital essence.
Because the difference is you're not fully how to put it. You have notes on how to make this wax, but it's not the same thing that Franck showed you how to make. Franck knows how to make vital essence,
Okay.
and it's very similar and has properties in which you could use, but in essence you're pulling biological life and storing it in kind of a what he would show you is a little bit of a how do you put it?
animated.
He ultimately uses algae baths, and technically he knows how to harvest life force from living entities. The wax is done slightly differently, so there is a slight difference in the resonance to what you're using.
Can I make a roll to figure out what it is?
You can give me an alchemy, I would say.
I'll use green dice. So I need a 12. So no. So pass by 2.
The life wax was it the wax that you had found in the museum, not the museum, but the bottom of the emporium. that's primarily cleansed life force. So it has a strong life force resonance, virtually nothing else. The vital essence has a strong life force resonance, but it also has a small biological resonance, meaning it's better used in biological systems. It's less effective for death bullets, but it's pretty close. You would assume kind of like 95% effectiveness. The only difference is if you used the vital essence for things like healing patches, they would be slightly more effective.
Okay.
Assuming that they're going to be used in a biological system.
So, wax from Emporium, good for bullets. Algae essence, good for healing.
The algae essence has a strong, a moderate, a small biological resonance. So it's better in systems that are some way biological. Otherwise, they're worse. But yeah, there you go.
Maybe. Actually, you got
So the PCs assume that you were going to construct a, a gate outside of the city, inside of Kenya, that Lamu Island, and teleport them back to Brooklyn.
Send them all to Siberia? No. Yeah.
All right. I made your rolls. Everything went fine. You took your time.
Yep.
We felt a little woozy.
They felt a little bit woozy. You have body sense. You're fine.
Yeah.
You are aware that there's still people on your team where you teleport, and they're like, wait, where am I? And they'll trip over themselves.
Yeah, I got body sense.
All right. Well, what is your body sense? No, I don't need the roll. I just want to know what the number
And he's
is.
on the
12.
ground.
12. He's better. He's definitely a lot better than some of the other individuals. So you'd be
13.
all right. You'd notice that he would be slightly disoriented when they arrive at the new location. You have a 13 in body sense? Oh, never mind then. Totally didn't realize they had that.
Yeah. There's a couple people that are used to it now. That's good.
All right.
Professor?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, just check.
So these two stayed back inside of Lamu Island in Kenya, and you would be back in Brooklyn. However, you can go wherever you'd want to the first week.
Before I left, I would have talked to Jeb to find out his methodology for contacting PSC.
Okay.
So that I can dial up PSC when I get back to Brooklyn.
All right.
So, so when I get back to Brooklyn, I'll try to get all of PSC.
Give it just to Hunter. I'll let you know. Just for you.
Yeah. Okay.
You'd be aware that there's a sandwich shop in which he can call, and ultimately there's a few individuals there that redirect you in case he is sometimes out of town. So ultimately you have to schedule a meeting with him at some point in the future. But he's a lot easier to get a hold of than his clients.
Okay.
Setting something up with his clients might take some time longer, given how their schedules look and how important they feel.
Yep.
There's some individuals, like the one who draws Aztec protection symbols, where it's difficult to get.
Correct. And that's who I'm trying to do.
It's understandable, too, because imagine if you had built, you are a known contact for building gates, and you're like, oh, I'm doing other stuff, I'm researching, I'm doing something with the Hag of Zais, and they're like, can you make me like a sigil thing, like on a piece of canvas? You're like, not now.
Exactly, yep, I understand.
So you can get in contact with Casey.
Okay. Basically, I am inquiring as to the Aztec tattooist.
Yep.
If he's got anything in the near future that's on the calendar.
You could arrange something in a week and a half.
Week and a half, okay.
And generally speaking, he says it's about 12,000. Or if you had something on your person, what he has to do is often he takes your money and through his other contacts he turns it into valuable trade goods. A lot of these individuals don't accept straight up cash, so he'll turn them into valuable trade goods, then use that money and take his commission, and then make the trade.
I have 12 in cash because that's what we paid last time.
Yep.
So.
He says it'd take him some time to do that, but the contact isn't available for the next week and a half, so he would be done prior to that. And he does need the money up front because then he's going to be using that money to.
He gets an envelope with the cash in it.
Still money?
And-
I thought you were dealing in gold.
What's that?
I thought you were dealing mostly in gold.
Not 12,000 in cash. I'm paying for it here.
Okay.
Just so you know, that's a huge amount of money for this time period.
Yeah,
Once again, if you're
money?
taking over the estates of dead
took a long
people, money just keeps rolling in. It's like, oh, some sort of crazy mad scientist? What does this do? I don't know. Looks valuable. Take it all down. Take it all down. Is this wire gold?
Can you potentially pencil in 2 other individuals?
During the same day, he could try to work with 3.
Okay.
You see, it'd be better if you did it all the same day.
Okay.
The process would probably take about 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
And yeah, that would be it.
Okay. I'll try to get their cash for them. As part of your services, if I show you things that we've found that we believe to have some.
He's willing to identify it based on the market value he thinks.
Okay.
It's just an estimate. He says that specific niche collectors may pay more.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, he can tell you how much he could liquidate it for you.
Okay. I give him the background of the Zagyeth or whatever, and then I have
Zais.
and basically I start putting items in front of me.
What are the items?
So I've got a flintlock. It was found on the upper level. I don't
From what
know.
he can tell, none of those objects transferred back over to this
Oh,
realm.
they did? Okay. Well, then that's that.
You have heard, what is his face? Ranton says that some of the quintessence that he had inside of his extra-dimensional space did transfer over.
Okay.
He's not sure if it's because it was in the extra-dimensional space, or technically he's transporting something that isn't really tangible.
Okay.
I mean, the water was there with it, but the massive amount of it was a primal energy, which technically permeates all dimensions, theoretically speaking.
Then I won't even bring that up. So then my other question is, does he know of the existence of an item that'd be the size of, say, like a small cigar case, say like hold 6 cigars that suspends time for whatever's placed within it?
Yeah, he does.
And what would the cost be associated with something like that?
He says suspending time, it is a bit relative. How long do you want to actually suspend for?
What if you, for every minute that occurred in how do you want to do it? Every minute that occurred inside the case, say a week went by.
Okay, and how, what about the nature of the case itself? How long do you want it to be able to last, and against what? 'Cause he says a wicker box, or not a wicker box, but
I don't want to.
an enchanted cask
Yeah.
could last several centuries. But if you're looking for something, theoretically, you want somebody to dig up 2 millennium from now.
No, it's going to be for field use. So, say something that can hold up some use in the field for the next 10 years.
So he described something kind of like a Great War canteen type container, or just
hardwood case, or maybe like some kind of aluminum metal case. I mean,
okay.
or something like that. I mean, if you say drop 100-pound weight on it, you're probably going to
Yep.
But if I drop it from here to there,
You'd probably suggest something like an aluminum case, just because some of the magical objects, at least he's familiar with dealing with, is once they've physically been broken, they have to be put back together, all the pieces. So you'd want something that if it got broken, it would tear into one piece, or not break into fragments. Because if you're missing a sliver, then technically part of the magic is missing.
Sure. So what would that type of object?
He describes something to kind of like an aluminum mess kit from the Great War. He just describes it similar to that. Obviously, it'd be of your construction. He doesn't know of one specifically, but he can have one on behalf of his contacts constructed for you.
Okay. And does he have a ballpark, or does he need to find that out?
He would probably say somewhere around 5,000.
Okay.
No, let me think about that. 2 years. And what was the time frame you're looking for the object?
1 minute within the case for every week of real time.
Okay. Yeah, for a specially constructed object, you probably say about 5,000. You could look around to see if there's something already. It might not match your details specifically. That might be cheaper.
Okay. How about if it was, instead of being 1 minute in the case is 1 week in the real world, but 1 minute is 1 day?
Probably around 4,000.
Okay, so not that much.
He says the time frame is kind of exponential. He said it is 1 day, or was it 1 minute for 1 year? It wouldn't be that much more expensive.
Okay, gotcha. So it'd be like $6 grand or something. Okay. Let me know if that's something that. So, is it something? If I give you the goal, you're going to just come back and tell me the time frame of when it's delivered?
He says he can take your money now if you want, and he can either look for something and try to find something cheaper, but it might not fit your criteria perfectly, or he can have it if he doesn't find anything within a time frame that you decide. He can have it commissioned.
All right. I was just curious if such a thing would exist and what the cost was. So I'm not going to give you any cash here at this point in time.
Right.
So
if you look around, he can contact you within the next week or two.
Okay.
Probably when he can just contact you when you were to meet his contact in a week and a half.
I'll give basically Lisa Mortensen does let me know when it's all lined up, just confirm or whatever it needs to happen.
Okay. And he just confirms any kind of or is it a specific contact criteria? Is there a name that you want him to use? Is there a code phrase or anything else that you want him to use?
You can just tell him that. Tell Lisa that. Do you have a code you like to go by? Or
It says Casey.
Just Casey, all right. Just tell Lisa that contact Hunter that Casey is available for a meeting.
Okay.
So,
All right. Otherwise, you guys finish up your meal at the sandwich shop and
Yep.
move on.
Yep. I paid for a sandwich or everything first time.
Yep.
Do I know where you guys went off to? Or Brooklyn.
We're in a warehouse apparently.
All right. I'll show up at the warehouse.
What is it? You have seen that Thomas has set up a small lab,
Yep.
similar to some of the stuff that B works with, but he's kind of put up partitions inside the warehouse and is working here. And you might have gone by there at least one point during the week after, and you would see that Branton is also using the other side. So a lot of the warehouse space, at least for the Obduro warehouse, is being used. I mean, you could fit and store other things in there. Just you would now have to start to actually kind of walk around, kind of like an IKEA store, rather than directly going to something.
Sure.
His name's Barton.
Barton? Brandon? I keep saying Brandon. It's Barton.
I'll show up at the warehouse, holler to get your guys' attention. As far as I know, neither one of you guys have a Aztec protection tattoo.
Actually, I have it. I don't know. I got it real early when I got back. So
Okay. So
What's it do?
it helps protect you from magic. It's something you're going to want. It's going to cost about 12
What's it look like?
Give me a thaumatology.
Um, by 5.
By 5. Initially, you didn't really have terribly great thaumatology the first time that you got this. However, from the depiction of it, it doesn't necessarily protect you from magic, but things that may alter or try to deconstruct your pattern.
Okay.
In cases like dealing with Tiomi, if it added a certain amount of DR to you, even though his effects were pretty horrific, but theoretically something like a Mu change sigil, it would protect you at least to some extent. You're not sure how much,
Right.
but it wouldn't stop necessarily somebody shooting you with an anti-life bullet, but somebody trying to manipulate your pattern or otherwise just unravel you like some sort of horrific deity might do. Some guy shooting you with a shotgun's not going to do anything.
No. Right. I explained that to you.
It's about protect from like entropy damage, or are we just talking about like a very
It
specific?
protects you from pattern damage.
Not entropy.
Right.
Entropy's not
Pattern
bad.
damage and having your pattern manipulated in a significant way.
So, like my Primal Blast, it would provide some protection against that type of
Yeah.
Sure.
However, a lot of times when you guys do that, you charge up to a point where
Right. I shaved 2 off the 80 points of damage.
it's more than that, but yeah, it's...
So, anyways, I've got it lined up. If you have the cash,
What's your loan company?
we can. Well, it's B, so you can talk to her and see if you want to take it out.
Yep, just make sure that you're writing
I've got
complete...
it down. Yeah.
So Beat can, or Steve can come back and he's like, $1 million, you say?
No, it's 25K.
25K? Are you sure? I thought it was some money before that, too.
No, not before that.
All right. Trust you. You are an accountant.
You can.
he's got 2 sets of books.
Exactly. The ones in crayons, the ones I showed you. The other thing is that you still got a shelf life on your bullets, right? Your super bullets. They expire after a period of time.
I'm guessing.
You'd imagine that the finished ones would be stable for decades. The ones that you make, you didn't really like how they were sitting, and definitely you'd want to keep them in a cool, dry place. Would you estimate about 5 years? Theoretically, in bad conditions, they could break down sooner than that, but you'd imagine you're probably going to use them within the next 5 years.
Planning on doing some research next week and splitting between some bullet research and some other research. So.
I'll tell you about the case that suspends time or slows time down. So if you want to look at making more faster, so than just popping them into the case, it's an option. Here's your cost.
Okay, thanks.
So,
I
what
really
kind of
thought you were gonna put a mu symbol in there, scribble it and see what happens slowly.
okay? I'll hang out in Brooklyn. The only other thing I'll do is I'll send a telegram over to Angus to see if he would be willing to take visitors with him next week or so. So I'm going to send that off. So, then I'm willing to pass the dice to somebody else.
He will have to talk to you. What is it? He'll say that it depends on the situation. Is running into a bit of a situation here that he wouldn't mind talking to you with, but otherwise he could temporarily hold someone.
I would tell him it would be myself if it's just a kind of critical situation I got going on with me myself. I've seen to have lost another left arm, and so certain tattoos that you've placed in the past would be appreciated.
He could arrange that. That would be fine.
And if it's not a serious issue, I might see if one other guest would wish to attend.
Yep. He would just, I suppose, prefer to kind of keep you in a. He could keep you in the guest house for the time being.
Is the missus okay? Or?
He says that she is doing better than expected.
Okay.
However, you can give me a body language or detect lies.
What one would be preferable?
Detect lies would be preferable. You don't really have line of sight to him, but you do have enough experience with him where I'd allow a default off of body language. Just
okay. Well, detect lives. It's got 5, so 8.
there does sound to be, what is it, a certain amount of uncertainty in his voice regarding that matter.
Okay. You don't have any concerns over safety or anything like that, do you?
He doesn't believe so. No.
All right. I'll get a hold of you in, say, 4 days.
Okay.
Or I'd ask him, is it okay if I come to visit in 4 days? Or
Yep, just give him a heads up.
Yep, okay. So, plan for 5 days. So,
Okay.
I said I'd pass the days.
All right, so it's on the next week for, I believe, everyone, so whoever wants to go first.
We'll still be with
And
them all.
you don't have anything on your timetable, just how much ever time you want to use. So you do whatever project you have
There are
you.
still, what those, people in Scotland missing.
Yeah, there's some individuals in Britain and Scotland that were missing. There hasn't been much word about the pigeons of unusual size.
They were eaten by cats.
That vigilante in California is still missing. Supposedly, the issue dealing with the bloody drug war in California or San Francisco seems to have died down as well. There's still a civil war happening in China right now that's pretty bloody with no end in sight. There have been strange rumors about the dead and even a ancient Chinese emperor coming back to life.
Oh my
But
gosh, I
you're
don't
not sure
know
how
if
much
I
of
can
that you can
handle
actually believe.
Not right now. It's
It's
better if
already
we stay
so
here.
far down. The train has left the station so long, I don't even want to go there.
It's better if we stay where we are.
Drive in, you're like,
And build
huh,
up what you
this
got."
is quaint. Why are all these individuals with different colored bandanas, the red and
Exactly.
yellows?
Yellow, yeah.
Looks like something serious is going to happen. Let's just back up. Oh, we're stuck.
It's better if we stay right here for right now. Build you up, and you and Pudding, so you guys know where you stand.
So that's what we'll be working on, I guess. Me and Puddin's powers and
Pudding powers.
yeah, I don't know.
Did you want to learn teleportation and so I can teach you, or you can just continue on your path of necromancy?
Bro, man. See. Can you imagine him
Does
teaching him how to
Puddin have an
teleport?
alternate
Death and
form?
teleport?
If you get out of
A
control,
portion teleport.
exactly. Don't make me put you down. That'd be
Can you apportion your teleport? Or can you teleport your apportion?
Theoretically.
Oh, there you go. I can do all kinds of
Oh, so that'd be even better than...
They're-
Hello.
Yeah.
They're just
Hey.
a basic framework. You know that Angus Urquhart has done similar things, and you personally had experienced Puddin. You believe that the cat didn't quite open a gate. It simply looked at where it wanted to create an effect and used another spell at a distance which it shouldn't have been able to. It kind of created
tunnel.
a tunnel where it was kind of aware what was happening, and the effect was just created there. You haven't actually seen somebody do that before, but
Now I know.
you apparently some of the spells that you know could theoretically cause an effect to open up at a location that you're not anywhere near.
That's awesome.
Would the earthen staff be able to do that?
Do what?
Help.
The earthen staff, supposedly from Casey told you, gives you an incredible intuition about where things are geographically around you. Theoretically, it would allow you to better be able to see what the hell you're getting if it's relatively close to you.
And that helps with
You don't think the earthen
teleportation.
staff would help you on like another continent somewhere else, but you think like 100 meters away on another side of a hillside, you might be able to dial that in pretty good. Not only that, but if the spell had related to something earthen, like if you had like breaking down matter or something of that nature, it would be a bonus on that.
Paradox, just like
So Frank and myself will just work with our cats in our
That's your call.
dream state.
Okay.
He has Puddin's true form like a dragon.
From what you've seen, no. I mean, when she's in the dream world with you, you guys aren't really in the dream world unless you're trying to get there. You're more in like kind of a dreaming state.
We're in our dreaming sessions.
Okay. For the most part, what is it? Each of you could put a point into dreaming if you want to. You don't necessarily need this skill to get to the dream world, but
I'll think about it.
Otherwise, what have you?
What does dreaming do? Just help you get there better?
It seems like the cats have some ability to dream, and well, of course they do, but they seem to have some ability to maintain their self-awareness while in a dream state. Think of it a little bit like Freddy Krueger Dream Warriors. So
really?
sometimes, yeah, I use that.
Because of the great song, too.
Yep.
We're the Dream Warriors.
The guy in the wheelchair was a sorcerer.
It's like Dungeons and Dragons, a
Yeah.
cartoon.
It's about as sad ending as what the hell is it, Mazes and Monsters.
Yeah.
All right, but they seem to have some sort of advanced awareness inside of a dream state, and it does seem as though sometimes they can they can teach you things if you're in this dream state, and it's better if you are essentially coherent for the, but not necessarily required. Now, what did you want to work on with the cat specifically? There's the list that Jeb knows. Some of those. Puddin has a few other ones that are different from the ones that Jeb knows.
I work with Puddin.
Okay. So what are you trying to do? Are you trying to...
Well, I'm trying to better communicate with Puddin and...
That'll primarily
see
be
what,
the body language.
Puddin knows. Like, I saw that Jeb could turn into things.
Mm-hmm.
What can Puddin turn into?
Puddin does... Can I see your list prior?
Yep, I'll mark the ones that...
Is it the full list that I gave you prior, or no?
No, there's I'll actually add those real fast. I can do that.
You know that Puddin knows Fairy Fire, Blessings of Bast. She does not know Guardian of Bubastis. But you do know that Puddin does have the ability of not apportion, but apportation. And what the hell is it? I want to say gravity ripple.
The invisible object thing.
What's gravity ripple?
Puddin can determine the orientation and strength of gravity within a certain field. You'd saw in instances it looked as though the Hag of Zais almost got hit by some sort of wave that ripped off parts of her being and they just clung to the far wall. In another instance where it looks as though she was pinned down to the ground, however she started to get up even though her legs literally couldn't support her.
Use the force.
The ones I circled is pretty much what I got from. Plus whatever elder signs.
Yeah. And then Elder Sign, the Sun
I
Elder
got
Sign.
all the signs.
Then she
The
can
main
teach you-
ones that she can teach you are the Bind Words, the Bind Wounds, the Messenger, Foxfire, Gravity
What's
Ripple,
fairy fire then?
Foxfire, Fairy. I use the term interchangeably, but
And cat's grace.
Puddin does not have that.
Oh.
What the hell is it?
Puddin's got
Fairy
Jiggly-
fire,
Jigglypuff thing?
From what you understand, is kind of an illusionary fire. It's a lot stronger than a similar fire type effect, but any intelligent creature would most likely view it as real.
So that gravity ripple also helped Puddin float. Okay, does Puddin know transposing things? Like, how did she...
From what you are aware, since Puddin is your familiar, she knows what you know, and vice versa, and that way she can teach you spells that you shouldn't normally have the time for.
Then I'll work on... I'd like to work more on, like, my transposing skills, and I guess the gravity ripple.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing. And then what's her true form?
From what it looks like, this seems to be her true form. The effect that you saw them use, you're pretty sure is Guardian of Bubastis, which is a type of gesture that Scarlet knows. So, from what you've never seen Puddin transform into anything larger than what Puddin is.
It's like Puddin ain't any larger.
Well, relatively speaking, it's not nearly as large as a jungle cat. But I think you'll need to find an advanced trainer for transpose, because I think you have like 4 or 8 points in that already, don't
Okay,
you?
then I'll do, if I have 8 in it.
Yeah. So you need to
So
find an
then
advanced
I'll
teacher
do
to
the
teach you anything
gravity
else.
thing.
You can put a point into Gravity Ripple over the course of the first week. What were you planning on working on?
Whatever Scarlet. Whatever Scarlet wants to.
And we've talked power. Was it prior that you could increase your power to 13, right?
I already did that. Yep.
Okay.
And then I guess what religious ritual I can bring up.
Yep.
So learn more of the cultures of past or whatever. Good old Scarlet wants to teach me.
And then, what difficulty is gravity ripple and
Gravity Ripple, I want to say, is an average, so it's a -1.
Offer.
and
Right.
then with a power of 12, how much would that be if I put 1 point into it?
11.
I'm gonna jump down. Grab you.
And right down there's a hand gesture. Or it's a type of gesture, I should say. It's a
I'm never
body
worried
gesture.
about
Gesture, I put?
Yep.
Jumping down there.
Yeah.
Not the advanced. I got the beginners.
Source for height.
It's a couple meters. But the advanced
Right.
one gets a little bit better.
So I should still tell him what you got on your plans.
No. Screw it at this time. It's like, I'll just heal myself.
Write it down.
There's still the other spell, the alchemical charms, alchemy in general. There's the Cat's Grace. There's also the advanced form of Catfall that she can teach you.
Yep.
She can also teach you intuition and common sense as advantages. Well, common sense is not necessarily a common sense for your character, but from my perspective as a GM, what might be beneficial for you to know if you just thought more like me.
It's like a sixth sense or something.
A little bit. Intuition is kind of like a sixth sense. Common sense is just things. I'll make you aware and put certain clues that you've arrived in maybe a manner that might be helpful for you.
But you can still decide to pick it
It's not going to be something where I'm going to immediately tell you the answer, but enigma and common sense and things of that nature, intuition would make it very easy for you to stumble on what might be a helpful,
points for
one
both
of many helpful ways.
How many points for both of them?
I think common sense is, I want to say 10. Intuition is like 15. However, intuition is pretty broad-based. You can get intuition for a smaller subject. Intuition lets you roll based on a number of choices and potentially pick the best one. Like, running down 4 different corridors down this area. Which one do I feel? I feel good about this. Or was it the second one to the left? Let's run down there. Other things of that nature. Or like, there's a series of cards here, and I want to select which one I ever feel is going to best help me.
I'll do.
And common sense is mostly I just help you go over some information that you might have already gotten, but you might have not put it together.
And Cat's Grace gives me what again?
Cat's Grace can allow you, essentially it's a series of body motions that enable you to increase your dexterity for, I should say, either an event or in a task requiring a lot of gracefulness.
Ben, let me just work on you.
Alright.
For me? Thank you.
Like theoretically, if you needed to walk a tightrope to get to an adjoining building, or even things of the nature like drawing a sword very quickly or things of that nature.
Can I pick up Cat's Grace and Luck Charm?
Do you have alchemy?
No.
You'll need to pick up alchemy first,
Okay.
but you only need 1 point to get the next one.
For Cat's Grace?
I suppose for the luck charm, you only need 1 point to
Okay.
make the prerequisite for alchemy, and then you need to move on from there. You can pick up luck charm after that. So you can put 1 point in Cat's Grace. Cat's Grace is an average. Alchemy, I think, is very hard. Or is it hard?
It's very
Very hard. Mind you, alchemy lets you default to a lot of different things. So if you find alchemy books on other various things, like even the PCs have some of Dr. Gravenhurst's notes, you can default to new things before putting a point into it. But certain alchemical things like those anti-life bullets and other things of that nature can become an easy skill on top of that. So you might know alchemy at a 13, but no anti-life bullets at a 15.
So I have to wait back until I get back to Brooklyn to learn alchemy?
No,
Okay.
Scarlet can teach you alchemy.
Okay. Okay, I'll learn that from her. 1, very hard. It's power or IQ?
Alchemy is IQ.
IQ.
Okay.
However, you always can buy up the other thing and take
I
time.
think it's a
things of that nature.
-5. Just
That'd be the default.
That's the default if you try it without.
for alchemy.
Yep.
If you
I-
don't have it.
I have 4 points, so 3 points into it, and it's still a -2.
Really? I don't think it's.
There's nothing over -5.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a -5?
That's if you're defaulting to it.
Yeah.
I'll double check a character
Minus
sheet,
3 is
'cause
the highest you can get on your stat.
Might just be a -1 because
He never bumped it for the last
Yeah.
one.
And then I could put a point into.
Because he went from 2 to 3.
yeah.
So you would have reduced it when you made that change, which she happened to note.
I could put a point in wine of bat or
So just be so you start out on
this week,
luck charm, or just alchemy and
alchemy and the other one. Next week you can work on the wine of Bast or
Cat's Grace
luck charm. You know that the wine can be brewed in a smaller amount of time. The luck charm needs time to sit, but
Well,
they both have their own differences.
Yeah.
With your alchemy, you can give me a alchemy roll,
I didn't read
and I can
that.
try to deal what they do a little bit more.
It's time consuming. Everything, so.
8 beat by
I was
1.
waiting.
For the most part, you know that the luck charm is some sort of physical object, usually something fragile, that is kept on your person. And when you need it most, essentially when you feel that you need it most, the charm will break, and allowing a lucky coincidence. In game terms, it'll break, allowing you 2 more rolls on a roll that you needed to. Once it's there, it's gone. But the thing is, it's a physical, tangible luck that could be handed off to somebody else. And there's no limit on how many you could have on you. You could create a charm bracelet that has charms on it. The Wine of Bast protects you from certain otherly world environments, even extremely hot conditions, like maybe the desert or other things of that nature. And while you still might dehydrate or starve to death, you theoretically could survive in a location like Earth's moon.
Or Irem.
Or
Or
Irem,
the other
Irem you
side.
could survive,
On the other side.
provided nothing killed you,
Yeah.
just fine, because it's actually in the spirit world of the moon. But yeah, the Wine of Bast would allow you to traverse areas that you normally wouldn't be able to, and the effects last for a good portion of a day.
So during those sessions, so when she's teaching me these random things, I'll hash up on Cat's Grace and Guardians of Bubastis, Foxfire, just to get them flowing and the ease of the gesturing and the incantations during.
Other than the alchemy, the rest of them are gesture spells, so you only really need at least hands or a good portion of your body that's being able to move. So either one hand and a good portion of your body, or 2 free hands.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you don't need any verbal components or any kind of sigils drawn or anything else of that nature. The Elder Sign is different, where you just need a sigil. All right, so second week for who now? We've done these 2. Have you guys done your second week?
Nope.
All right. Whoever wants to.
I will tell you guys.
You have a little bit less time your second week because you helped out assembling his various vats that are kind of drilled into the walls and what have you.
Before you guys start your second week, I would tell you that I was planning to go to Scotland to visit my friend Angus, who puts the tattoos for transpollers.
How long will that
Okay.
take?
I'm going to probably spend a couple of days with him. So if it's something that if you want to learn how to teleport,
Now would be the time.
well, I'll make sure that's okay to have you come along. But my plan is to be going there.
Can you,
In that first week, we would have got our tattoos. Right? I guess I don't know so from day 1 to 7, I don't know when I contacted Casey, and then it was 3 days after that contact.
I'll probably say within the 4th day. You can arrange sometime early this week to go meet up with Angus Urquhart.
So we've got the Aztec thing out of the way.
No, that was going to happen
Start of your third.
start of your 3rd.
Okay, gotcha.
Because there's a week and a half after you contact Casey. That's about 3 days, 4 days into your first week.
so plan a day for the tattoo if we just want the tattoo.
I'm probably going to spend a little more time in Scotland. than just
Theoretically
doing this
teleport
today.
you back.
Chantry's there too.
Yeah, I'll let you walk.
Yeah, but that's not site to site. You have to drive to the Chantry, then go to another country.
So anyways, I'm just making you guys aware of that so that you can plan accordingly.
I'll accept.
Okay.
Thank you.
You getting a tattoo too?
I'm going to start. I've intended to pick up the teleportation.
There's going to be some point where you guys get to another country, and they're like, well, where are your papers? And you're like, oh. The ones that you get when you're going to other countries via normal means. Yeah, we came in via train.
Hey, just a minute. Let me draw this with my foot. Yep.
Yep.
Bye-bye. So the one thing I will tell you guys is that when we go there, I don't know if this is going to make you change your mind or not, but the guy is married to a black spiral dancer. He's a demonic type of werewolf. So I would consider her one of our allies. I don't think her morals are necessarily all that good. It just so happens her goals kind of coincide with our goals. So the reason I point that out, she underwent trauma recently. She might be a little unstable. If you were to do anything to offend her, you're going to have to pay that butcher bill on your own. Okay?
Just tattoo.
Polite. So, those are my warnings. So, if you want to go out, make sure that it's okay with this.
Sounds good.
So, again, in the second week, then I'll contact Angus, see if it's okay if I have 2 people showing up.
He does. He tells them that they haven't been new individuals. Something that's similar is he works with his wife. He doesn't really control her in any particular aspect. So.
Yep. So then I guess we'll go visit Angus in that second week.
Angus Urquhart seems to be a Scottish individual, probably late 60s. He looks fairly weathered, but he looks fairly still strong at his age. He kind of gives you the feel like of an old biker or an old blacksmith. He has a beard and wears a derby hat. Otherwise, what the hell is it? Yeah. He's an old, surly man.
Oh, okay. You're planning on being back? All right.
So, if I'm just there for the tattoo, how long do you think I'm there for?
Now, this is a separate tattoo. The one that does the Aztec tattoos is a contact of Casey, and this would be for transportation,
This is a transposed tattoo.
position magic.
I don't need position magic.
Then you don't want to come.
Okay. I'm in the lab.
All right.
This is strictly gives you a +1 equipment bonus for transposition magics. If you don't want to learn those things, then you don't need the tattoo.
Okay.
That's it.
When did he plan on being back? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Like in a half hour, 45 minutes or something. He's got to go pick his kid up. And he's
Oh, yep,
If,
fine.
if everything goes to plan, he should be back. But
Okay, that's fine. I have a general idea of what he's going to do anyway. All right. So, for the first, since you guys are having a work week together, Angus Urquhart can.
if I can, the one thing I'll mention to you as well is that he has 2 children. Both of them are werewolves. So there's some kind of pure strain of werewolf. They're not a black spiral dancer werewolf. I don't totally understand it, but just be aware that there's a bunch of werewolves.
Do I have to wear any special protection or anything of that nature?
They're peaceful folk. Again, as long as it's mostly the misses. It's kind of like a sweating stick of dynamite. Just don't look at it cross-eyed.
If anything, from your given contact with Garus, the kids are abnormally calm and well mannered. For all the other people that you've come across that were Garu were a little bit kind of high tension at any point in time. They're like a little edgy.
So
you do get that feeling from. I suppose you don't. Mrs. Urquhart is unusually calm. However, you get the kind of calm where it's like Cannibal Lecter, and he's like, fava beans. You're like, yeah, I mean, she's pretty calm, but I don't want to sit by myself in a room with her for a long period of time.
Exactly.
So you're not sure why the kids are like that. It might be because of how they're raised by Angus Urquhart. But there you go.
They don't know
color
magic.
that.
Yep.
Do we bring gifts? I mean, we bring games for the boys or something like that, or
They're teenagers, young adults, or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
bring the books?
I'm not planning on bringing any gifts myself. So we'll,
And what
basically
day-
walk over via the chantry to Scotland and take a cab or something like that. I'll pay the cab a little extra so I can drive myself.
Okay. He finds an unusual request, but you guys make excellent time when you get there.
You're gonna drive me insane if you don't agree.
I'm assuming you add like double the fare that he wanted for it, and he's fine with that. He watches over your shoulder for a little bit, and occasionally you will see, both of you will see that the cabbie will occasionally tell him, he's like, no, you don't want to take this street. It's not gonna end up where you want it to go, and you're gonna end up having to take a scenic route. We're gonna lose like 10 minutes, and Hunter will just kind of look over at him with this shut your face up look, and the cabbie just kind of just sits there astonished as you guys arrive 5 minutes early rather than like 5 to 15 minutes late. He's like, well, they must have put in this new road or something. But there you go. He gets paid. He's happy. He leaves. Hunter seems to be like, yeah, whatever the fuck.
Exactly.
I'm civil. Have a good day. Thanks for the ride, or thanks for the use of the car.
Yep. Otherwise, Angus Urquhart has a what the hell have you? A kind of a good-sized manor in Scotland. Yeah, that's all you'd really know. He's a good-sized manor.
Your note said he was a retired soldier.
Yeah.
He used to be a retired soldier. He also does know a little bit of blacksmithing. He was special service for in the Great War. You don't know more than that.
We'll just walk up, knock on the door, whatever is customary for
Okay.
our visits in the past.
Yep.
Ring the bell. Or,
There's a large courtyard, and ultimately you'll see him working out in one of the, what is it, not stables, but one of the, damn it, one of the barns, most likely, something equivalent, or maybe even a forge out there, but yeah.
okay. Make introductions. I don't know if he's met Thomas in the past or not. But
I can't remember if he has or not.
I think I have. 'Cause we didn't. One time I've been to London recently just for this, the goat, mother goat thing.
okay.
And we didn't delve out of, delve out of the area that much. So.
Here's a picture of Angus Urquhart, as I described before. Kind of derby hat. The only thing different from this photograph is it does look like he is still fairly strong. He does seem to still have a hobby of blacksmithing, and otherwise seems to be fairly durable for someone his age.
I'll shake his hand and greet him warmly.
He seems to have a firm hand grip. Otherwise, yeah, he introduced himself. He says that his 2 children are up and around. That's about it.
And things are going well with the missus on her recovery.
He says that for the most part he can talk to you about that later.
Okay.
He does kind of give a slight head turn towards the new individuals, and then
Thomas is with the Obduro. He knows things. He's been around the block.
he's not concerned about that,
He's
actually.
seen things. So.
He assumed as much, given that you're taking him here. But yeah.
Okay. So.
And he's not here?
Correct. He was never.
Otherwise, he tells you his daughter Dawn is cooking up some food for you guys for later in the evening. He'll get some of his what is it? You'd mentioned the tattoos being redone here.
Yep, I show him. I've got a new
Okay.
arm here.
Yep.
So.
And you'd see that the new arm still have that scar tissue there,
Right.
and it's faint, but it's not noticeable, like at a distance.
Yeah. So I tell him I lost my cadaver in clay and I got a new one back. So kind of tell him a little bit about the story.
Actually, in your particular case, you'd still have to qualify this prior. You still have your clay hand and tattoo, if you had one there, when you woke up.
Oh, I did?
Yep.
Oh, okay, I thought my left arm disappeared.
When you were in the dream world, yes. When you woke up, it was like this.
Oh.
So that changes anything. I apologize.
Then my intent of coming here would be because I've got an individual that's interested in learning the transpose magic, so
Okay.
I would have set it up with Angus. If you're willing, would you, give him a tattoo? I can, vouch for him.
Okay.
Solid guy, etc., etc. So that's what we'd be showing up for. I thought I had a new arm.
And then didn't Urquhart say something about something on the side?
You're not there.
I know that.
Yep. I know.
So then I never lost the other glove.
Yep. You didn't lose the other glove.
Okay, and then he did mention about that he want to talk to me, and so
Yep.
I'll do that at some point at night or whenever he wants to.
Otherwise, what the hell was it? Unless you didn't specifically record, was it ask him to? He doesn't anesthetize your arms before he kind of. Oh no. For this one, there's something else that was on a different character. On this, that was for what have you, the eyelid for Dr. Bruce. This is just a standard tattoo. It'll take some time. It's a little bit painful, but otherwise it's completely fine. It encompasses. It goes to about a little bit beyond. What is it? A little bit before your wrist, probably about 2 to 3 inches. Then goes up just past the elbow to this region. So a standard long sleeve shirt will cover the tattoos, but I mean, if you pull them up, you obviously can see a spiraling tattoo. And you can give me symbol drawing.
You've been sleeved.
I've been sleeved.
Okay, old war veterans get tattoos all the time.
Yep.
By 4.
By 4. You can see that the symbols are a tool in which to manipulate space. They kind of work if you imagine that the steely stone is kind of like a door. These runes are more like a wrench or even like a screwdriver. They allow you to pry and move things around a little bit more easily.
I equate them to a battering ram.
Depending on how you use it, you could use your wrench to break down a door.
Or your crowbar to pry it open, whichever one you want to use.
Yep. Depends on how you use your tools. But otherwise, you get for transposition magics, and I'll tell you which ones those are, you get a +1 equipment bonus.
Oh, okay. What do I call this tattoo? Spiral arm tattoo, or
I
You
call
can
it,
call
I
it
call
the-
it the transposition tattoo.
Yep, you can call it that. Or the tattoo that Angus or Kirk can give you.
it's +1 equipment bonus to what?
To any kind of transposition magic. Magics or rituals dealing with the control of space. So transpose, apportation, detects, sense steely, fold space. So while you still have the same amount of ranks in it, you theoretically could have a higher level just because of the equipment.
Did you mention a portion?
A portion.
Yes.
For the most part, a portion is just kind of a weaponized improper gate. Normally, gates will try to take the whole thing, but this specifically is broken away, which you want to take a slice of the pie and then just leave it as it is.
So, and is apportation teleports?
No, a portion.
No, apportation.
Apportation
That's
is
telekinesis.
telekinesis.
Telekinesis. Okay.
Yep.
Which is not.
Yep. They have a similar Latin root word which means to move, and there's two different things that actually do.
So which one is the teleport? What's it called?
Transpose is teleport. Mind you, there's different variations of teleportations. You may theoretically come across a different one. Transpose deals with sigils. So if you have a sigil, an end sigil, other things of that nature. There are other ones that could require magical instruments or even special sites where you would require this.
So this
they all
work
different.
on so this tattoo will work on the sense sealy, transpose, fold space, spiral point.
Spatial point?
Spatial
Yep.
point, I mean.
Yep.
And a portion.
And a portion.
It's a portion of Vorish sign.
Nope. Vor's sign is an additional hand gesture that can be used for certain incantations that makes it a little bit easier for the incantation to kick off. So it's It's a technique which makes it optionally more difficult for you to you require, how to put it? An incantation, you don't need too many hand gestures, kind of a simple flick of the wrist and then the incantation. However, Boorish Sign is an elaborate set of hand gestures that make the next skill roll in your incantation easier, but you need both hands free. So think of it like it'll allow you to make more elaborate or more powerful incantations because of that. But it'd be difficult if you had like a gun in your hand, because you wouldn't be able to.
All my hand signals are.
Yeah.
I can do it with the gun.
Boorish Sign can help certain other types of abilities. Technically, a Boorish Sign could theoretically help the gate transpose, but it add more additional steps to actually the damn procedure. The same way that meditation can make it easier.
So other than letting him get his tat, I'll visit with him, just kind of shooting the breeze about non-important things, and then give him time to approach me on whatever we want.
Okay. You guys can talk amongst yourselves. Talk over here with Dusty really quick.
Do you have a Rafi gun, Professor?
I have a dry rocket pistol, I think.
That's what they are.
Yeah.
Do you ever use it?
No. There's come a point where those things didn't work on certain things we're up against, so I had to learn more hardcore spells.
That's kind of where we are. Yeah, the guns work on cultists. Your specialized bullets might work on some spirit entities. But the portion will pretty much slice through any bad guy we can come across. It's going to go through And we watch it with high-tech armor. You can use it to cut off arms of big monsters. So,
Unless they're so high up in level that they can deflect a
yeah,
bunch of our spells, then we just need to get out.
but it's good to have the mix. I mean, some things you just need to shoot.
No one has dispel.
Jeb focused on countering magics against the hag. I went with necromantic assault magics, and he went with countering magics.
Not develop bullets with strain life force. Although they are really expensive to make good ones.
Yep, it always is.
Like, in a pinch, I think it was $750 per bullet for the strong ones. To buy the materials needed from Apollo. One of those cults that we associate. The one that foots our healing bills. Yeah. To buy like the wax blocks from them, $750 each. I'm still hoping to develop an anti-magic bullet
Yeah.
for those pesky mages out there.
It's actually not a bad idea. Something that sets up fires, it sets up an area of effect that interferes with magic. Even if you can't do everything, you just make them, suffer -1, -2, or -3 to their magic rolls.
Well, magic came from quintessence, right? Well, you could burn quintessence to improve magic, was what Hunter was doing.
Yep.
So I'm assuming you can make like an anti-quintessence bullet that would drain quintessence and drain someone's magic power for the time being. Maybe mix some life force with quintessence drain for the, ultimate killer bullet.
The double whammy.
Shoot it at anything, it'll die. Hope to make some money with some rejuvenating cream because it was mentioned that I might be able to do that.
Yeah, it would be good to set up a side business to get more money, because even though he was talking about, we find stuff, I ain't seen that money.
12,000 for tats.
I don't have that. And I started off with wealth.
Actually, what you want now is independent income on page 26. It goes off of a where is it? For 1 point per level. You get 1% of your starting wealth per level of this trait to a maximum of 20%. So,
Per what time frame? It's not that much.
Your monthly income is 1% of your starting wealth.
That's not much at all.
Well, let's see. My starting wealth is.
My starting wealth was 5 times the average.
Yeah, I got something here. I got some kind of wealth that was
He gave me
comfortable starting twice the average.
he gave me like 2,500. So
Yeah,
I'm
but
guessing that's
it's
average.
It's comfortable. You work for a living, but your lifestyle is better than most. Your starting wealth is twice the average. 10 points we got for free, girl. You come over here and we're tech level 6 with a mechanic age. And our starting wealth is $10,000. My starting wealth is $20,000. What is 1/100th of that? You take out 2 zeros up the side.
100.
It's actually 200 a month. It's not a lot, but it's 200 a month. it's basically another paycheck.
Or I could hire a salesman to sell this cream for a certain price.
You try.
Talk to him about that.
Well, Frank runs a free clinic that you may be able to sell it as part of, when people get cosmetic surgery, they get a certain kind of cream to help the healing.
I was thinking about something different for, because I'm sure there's war amputee victims, and it was also mentioned that I could make the patches into a regrowth thing. So maybe do some of that with the free clinic.
Yeah, and then he knows Gabriel Varus, and he may be able to sell it also at the hospital that he works at too. And then.
Well, it wouldn't even have to be a hospital, because it'd be a.
Well, that's all the contacts that I know. I don't know anyone with duty or spot on it.
Question 20 points is against it. Yeah. Well, or we role play episode.
Do both.
I'd rather spend the points on the magics. Because I'm just imagining, walking in with just, your hoodie on or something, and it's just like, oh, look at my SMG I just pulled out of my hoodie pocket.
Interdimensional hoodie space. You want the, God, there was a, before your time.
Hammer space?
No, there's it was a show about kids in school, and the one kid who was kind of geeky, he wore a trench coat, a black raincoat, and Saved by the Bell, that was it. It was Saved by the Bell. And he would reach into that thing and pull out ice cream cones, or trumpets, or textbook. And he's a skinny guy in a skinny coat that just hangs around him, and he just reaches into it. It's interdimensional space. He just pulls things out that you need. It's like, yeah.
I was just imagining for oh, you need to go in here, but you need to relinquish all your weapons. I don't have any. Or here's my one gun.
Actually, don't mess around with that guard.
Well, I wasn't talking about Elvis's place specifically, but I'm sure there will be places in the future where they try to disarm us or something before they gloat about their evil plan, because all bad guys do that.
It's required.
They don't just instantly kill you and say, "Oh, now we can get on with it." They say that a girl group, they've been screwing things up for me and everyone else. I must go out. Not to mention, like I said, the geothermal. There's a whole separate campaign going on over there.
There oftentimes is. Well, you want to do things in private? Something like that. So he's talking with Erhardt, whatever his name is.
Angus.
He's got issues with his wife.
I want a magical divorce. He needs a magical divorce.
Oh, I thought you said magical horse.
You can get one of
A
those.
unicorn? The ultimate regrowth of limb is after seeing some of the other creatures out there. You regrow it differently.
Well, I don't know, they tried that.
They did.
Yeah, Hunter had, I think, a deep one arm that had got detached and then went and run amok and kill people.
The hand?
Yeah.
Why do you sew that on?
I can't remember how they got it. You have to ask him. I think they lost their limbs and we didn't have the advanced magics that we did, so they had like deep one arms grafted onto themselves, but they kind of like rejected their host body. And they had to go after the hands and stop it from killing people.
You didn't have much to go off that night, huh?
No, I wasn't there for that
It's
one.
kind of good, actually.
I heard about it.
Just gonna come back. Okay, Hunter's dead.
Oh, I don't know. He survived worse.
Yeah, he kissed a decaying corpse. With
Yeah,
tongue.
it was
Is that what he
dark.
did?
He was all like
It was specified that with tongue.
Oh, so you took one from
Well,
the
she
team?
didn't really have a mouth. All she had was one tooth.
Oh, she was trying to kill him. So apparently he has like some sort of dominatrix thing going on.
He does?
Apparently, I mean, he tried to kiss her and she was trying to kill him. There's something about an alternate identity going on too for Hunter.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So why didn't Ben join us?
He usually works on Wednesdays. He tries to get off, but sometimes they just don't want to let him go.
Laura.
Either gonna come back dead or I know the purpose of our lives.
No, oftentimes it's the world is so rich in that such depth. Yeah, you want to get into a conversation with character. There's a lot there.
Yeah, he'll probably come back and tell us that we got a mission to do.
I have to make algae bats. That is efficient.
I actually had a nightmare about that. About the algae infecting a small Midwestern community and giving them strange powers in some people because they had good in them, remained good and kept their humanity, and other ones like morphed into weird creatures.
Algae's harmless though. I just put it down the drain.
Yeah, like in what is that one?
Impulse?
It's one of those old ones with the Crypt Keeper where they go swimming in that pond. It's a series of comic book stories. Creep Show.
Yeah,
Where the
pond.
where the algae thing come up and try to eat people, and it had been cordoned off that says no swimming, but they went anyways. That was scary.
So, in other words, I'm making a quest for us in the future.
Like we need more help. Maybe we got.
Right, sorry about that.
More demonic women.
Possibly.
So, do you know the purpose of our lives?
Just about.
Or did you die?
Not yet. Not that you're aware of. Well, you might find out.
All right. So this is the anyone not do their second week?
Yes.
I'm going to. I was going to research a way of making the bullets last longer like I wanted them to.
Okay.
And if I can, in that process, Bees Lab, obviously, I'd like to recast the bullets that I made.
Okay.
Because it was mentioned that I could do that.
Potentially, yeah.
And how long does that take?
First of all, you can give me a research roll.
Okay. 15. Perfect 3. Well, 2.
What'd you make it by?
So I had 15, so 13.
There were 13. For the most part, through the notes and the research material that you have is relatively limited regarding the construction of anti-life bullets. However, you're able to cobble together a few ideas with some additional resources that you can pull from the the Ordo Hermes.
I also have the Gravenhurst alchemical notes.
Yep.
I don't remember what those were about.
Those primarily deal with the reanimation of dead tissue and the perpetuation of human life force.
So I could technically gather from that like a reverse process, or
somewhat. I would say primarily a Sierra Altera, but you have to adapt some certain things to it. I would only take you about a day to do that with your 13. So if you wanted to attempt to recast them, you could attempt to melt them down, collect the life, what the hell is it? The wax, the wax quintessence, the life wax quintessence, and recast those into new bullets.
Okay, I will do that.
All right. How many are burning down?
I only have 2.
Okay. So you can give me an alchemy roll on this.
See if you cry. Oh, good roll. Good roll.
Jeez. Wow. Okay, so that's a 3. So by 11.
Okay.
You rolled a 4.
With additional materials that you have to pick up, because
green dice.
ultimately you lose.
Those are mine. Nice.
Right, but dice roll's still 4.
It's actually reduced target that roll.
Okay.
Yeah. You don't roll, what is it? You just get a +1 on your relative skill. So if your skill's a 14, it counts as a 15 when you're rolling Cthulhu dice.
Gotcha.
So you still make it by the same amount, but it's different because you don't actually roll a 3.
But isn't a 4 if you made by 10 still critical or no?
If you make it by 10 anyway, it's a critical.
Oh, okay.
Depending, if your target number was a 6 and you rolled a 4, I'm probably not going to give it to you.
Yeah. Yep.
Your critical failure is you somehow miraculously did something you are very untrained in.
Yeah.
So, the main thing is you want to recollect the life essence from the wax, and you lose the other ingredients as you're doing this, but you're able to recollect the 2 units, and then set up a procedure to make 2 more of the rounds. And I would probably say with about $6.50 per round, you're able to remake them into a more solid state. Ultimately, you end up using some rubber from a rubber tree, along with various other chemicals that you end up picking up in from some of the nearby industrial plants, and some materials that you can pick up, like you did before in Little Chinatown.
Okay.
So essentially, for $13, you can make the 2 rounds again.
Okay. And so that's probably 2 days then? 1 for the initial, 1 for the recasting?
Recasting?
It's
Yeah,
only
I'd say
2
the
bullets.
2 days.
And from...
I would say 3 days. You need to get new ingredients. One thing is you could at some point in time go about and purchase stockpiles of materials. Because right now you don't really have, other than the wax that you have, you don't really have a lot of stockpiles of alchemical goods.
I have stuff to make the patches, but...
Yeah.
other than that-
So right now you don't have like you have some of the basic equipment to do it. You just don't have a back, like think of like your hydrogen chloride and what have you, and their back kind of shelf rooms, your mercury and what have you. You could always spend money in the future to kind of build up resources for specific things, and you wouldn't have to go out and purchase them that day. You could spend it working.
Okay. So from there, 4 days left. I would like to spend 1 to... What was I going to research? Oh, research if I can make the algae like less biological, like the quintessence stuff, to make it more like the wax.
So you're trying to filter out all aspects of the biological resonance.
Yes, to make
Okay.
better bullets
Give
from
me
algae.
a lower for your research, or the lower. It was lower of research and alchemy.
Lower?
Yep. So whichever is lower, you roll on that number.
The worst one.
Because there's going to be some research, and there's going to be some alchemy, and whichever one's the limiting factor.
I have a 14 and a 15, so 14's limited. And so what was it? 14, so 8.
Okay.
Passed by 8.
You'd say that if you made some very thin clay filters, that you could end up passing on the biological resonance to the clay filters, and you could stockpile that for something else in the future, but it would leave you with a relatively pure life resonance and your and kind of water. And it wouldn't be vital essence at that point. It would just be what the hell is it? I'd say life resonance.
Could I technically be doing all this research like at the beginning of the week and like the bullet casting and anything that I'm actually doing towards that?
Well, you've already spent the 3 days on the first thing that you said that you're doing. It's very likely, since you said that you're working on this new project, you don't want to necessarily research 3 things, because part of it is you're going to be researching, you try something, it doesn't work, you go back, you figure out what was wrong in our hypothesis, then you try again, and you get what you're working for, and you make some tweaks to it. And
So I have a way then. I've
Yep.
thought of a way to do that. Okay.
And so, essentially, like I said before, you can create, for relatively cheap, a type of clay filtration system that will allow you to move the biological resonance from your vital essence into the clay discs, and you can either destroy those, or you can save up a very small amount of biological resonance per unit. It would take a good, I'll probably say, given that process, about 20 weeks to get enough where you'd have like purely a unit of biological resonance.
Okay.
Otherwise, you could destroy them safely, and then just get rid of them.
Okay. So from there, I would like, I guess, the last 3 days, I'd like to research. They're kind of together, so I'm going to say them together. Like how to improve the slap patches, because we talked about limb regrowth, and also related like wrinkle cream type thing. But this is in my lab, not B's, just for clarification. And kind of make...
Which do you want to work on specifically? Are you just trying to do basic research on all these various properties, as in you're working on your alchemy and...
I would like to do like the euthanizing cream first.
The euthanize...
Yeah.
The cream that makes you
Younger.
appear more youthful? Okay.
Yes.
Now,
That's
you
di-
could,
that's different
the
than
Gravenhurst
euthanizing.
notes, you would be able to create some sort of euthanizing cream.
Different,
Different.
result.
Yep.
Words have meanings.
And if you have trouble with the words, just go with genocide.
Okay, so a regenerating cream.
Okay.
And
Now, a regenerating cream, or something that attempts to...
rejuvenating.
Rejuvenating cream.
Okay.
Something that attempts to...
Back the
Take
hands of
5
time.
years off of the skin.
the skin? Okay.
And I guess while I'm doing that, then like some sort of drinkable thing too, instead of just like that would overall reduce your age type thing.
Okay.
But
Well, give me
focus
a-
on cream.
Give me a research roll.
Was it Don Quixote that was chasing the Fountain of Youth?
Yep.
No, he did windmills.
No, yeah, those Don Quixote was windmills and giants.
Who was
I know who you're talking about. Let me think about it.
was a Spanish guy, right? A Spaniard.
Dalgies or no?
I'm gonna block this one.
Who was the guy
Sam,
that was chasing the Fountain of
It was
Youth?
a conquistador.
Cookies.
I was trying to find the Fountain of Youth.
Jesus.
Oh, it's right on the tip of my head.
Come on, Julian. You should know. Cortez had one of the gold.
Yeah. I don't know offhand.
Leon.
No.
I'm disappointed, Julian. This is something you would know.
Strangely enough, this is probably something Ben would know. He has obscure
Yeah.
information. It's like I spend most of my time at work on Wikipedia.
Pass by
Following every
5.
rabbit trail that goes through my head.
Pass by 5.
He definitely has some leads on the wrinkle cream. Something to rejuvenate tissue. What have you? You think that he could make close to like a 5? You think he could make close to maybe? You're trying to take one application of cream that would bring back the years about 5. You'd say?
Yeah.
And,
I feel like that's enough to see a noticeable difference. Right?
okay.
Now that bothers me, so I was gonna look it
Skin?
up.
You think that you can make possibly 2 applications. You're not sure for your first batch, but with one vital essence, not vital essence, but with one
Algae.
one life essence. You could do something with that. In this particular essence, vital essence actually might work slightly better.
Then
Yep, if you remember, vital essence works for biological systems slightly better than the wax. The wax works for non-biological systems.
So algae essence would work better.
The vital essence works a hair bit better for biological systems than does the life wax.
I thought wax was vital essence without biological component.
Yep.
Okay.
So the vital essence works better anything that deals with biological systems, but it works worse for anything that doesn't do biological systems. So for like anti-life bullets,
I need to do the clay thing.
you'd want to probably separate it. It's close enough where you wouldn't notice a huge difference, but there's a little bit. For something like aging cream or something to ingest into your person, the vital essence would actually work better, based on the original Gravenhurst notes you see. So you have an idea at the end of the week, nothing to actually work on. But at the start of next week, an attempt to make something like that.
Okay. Did you have something for us to do for next week?
You gotta get a tattoo for 3 hours.
Sometime the next 3 days. However, at the start of the next week, everyone did this week for their time?
What's this
What's
week 3?
I think this is week 3, yeah.
My time with Durhurst the rest of the week? Or?
No, we're starting week 3.
Okay.
Yeah, we spent like 3 days there, so.
You can pass this around. Althea Montrose says it was directed to Obduro, Brooklyn.
Because we're heavily associated with
She'll tell you that essentially the event is in 6 days from now.
You ready to go to another sinking island, Professor?
Ian, do you have a way to Wikipedia that?
Not offhand, no. I didn't bring my tablet today.
Oh, it's gonna hurt my brain now.
Yeah.
Focus, Julian, focus.
What?
You can do it.
The Mountain of Youth guy, I don't know.
And get a hold of. I'll go to the via the Chantry to Kenya. Try to track those guys down.
The Chantry doesn't go to Kenya,
Oh, okay.
but it does go to Cairo, and there's another one in Africa. I'll have to double check.
Check for
But from
Sinjos
Cairo,
there.
you can
There
go
be
either
there.
get a series of small public transportations, like maybe a bus going somewhere or something like that, or even what the hell is it, with a military group moving through the area, or you can attempt to hitchhike or things of that nature. who
Well,
might be going
traveling
through.
in Africa,
There's
'cause I can
British
carry my hunting
there's
rifle
British
around.
colonies that, as an American individual, you'd most likely, other than getting sneered at, you probably could get a lift to somewhere.
I like bar fights too. This turned out to be a better trip as the moments go by.
So, who's Tony Carmichael?
Tony Carmichael?
No
Anthony
idea.
Abbott Cabot Carmichael. Tony Carmichael.
No idea.
Is Anthony? Is Tony short for Anthony?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. No,
Remember, he's not as young as you are.
no, I think he's younger than me. But what the hell have you? You can give me a
Yeah, but you.
current affairs headline news. Savoir Faire High Society, or even business. I would say current affairs business.
I got savoir faire military.
Headline news, current. Does either one matter? Or
No, you can do headline news.
there's both of them.
Different information.
I'll do both of them then. So for headlining. So headline, I only get a 1.
I asked Lisa Mortensen, our secretary. Do you know this name?
Lisa Mortons will tell you.
High Society, I have by 3.
Theatrical work? Yeah, she's got friends in the theater society.
What are we here? So, from what Althea Montrose will tell you, unless you tell other people, where are we here? The individual has written 5 plays on Broadway. 4 of them have been really well. It's only his last one, Sodom, that went very poorly. Otherwise, she tells you that Anthony is known to be worth? Probably about $70 million. And he comes from old world, not old world money. His family became very rich during shipping during the American Civil War. Otherwise, he's a bit of a playboy.
So he can't buy his money, honestly, as a war profiteer back in the days.
Well, that's where his family's money come from.
Abbott.
He's made a significant portion from theatrical plays on Broadway. She does say that there's a lot of talk, depending if you tell other people. Well, I'm assuming all of you there with Lisa Mortons. She'll tell you that there's a lot of talks about him, being very friendly in the theater business. and I suppose that he is very
Does he have comfortable shoes?
that he has very risque parties.
Okay.
And other than that, he seems to like the company of any individual.
Okay. So is the sixth film named Gomorrah?
She says that from what she hears, he's doing a new play within the next coming weeks or so, and supposedly it's going to be huge. She says all the important people are going to be there.
Out of game, I know. In game, I don't. I haven't dealt with this sort of
A masked costume ball. Well, Frank will wear his deep weapon armor.
Yep. Hopefully he wants to go black that man.
Are we here?
Can I get a hold of the professor and Jeb?
Yeah, I would suppose that he could. She will also tell you that the Chandlers, the Rothschilds, and the Carlyles should be at the event. Pretty much only the very elite and rich
This
are
sounds like
going.
Great
Ha!
Gatsby.
You guys laughed at my $500 outfit. My suit. I'm the only one that's going to be dressed
Your Egyptian
somewhat
suit?
non... It's not Egyptian.
I bought a
It's an American
fancy suit from
That's
the
where I bought it in
Irish.
Brooklyn.
Oh, you just made hers in Egypt.
Exactly.
However, that's what she knows for the most part.
Pointless.
She doesn't know too much about his new play.
I've got that. I'll let you wear it if you
Supposedly
want.
it's huge.
Well, thanks.
If I take the Chantry to Cairo, can I get a really nice looking suit? Handmade with Egyptian cotton.
For cheap.
For cheap.
Relatively, yeah. The thing is, you're bypassing a lot of shipping. I don't think, like, second hand, or is it middleman there?
You haven't properly paid your tariffs.
The event supposedly is a masked ball, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a suit. Could be any kind of outfit.
Can I go as a hot dog?
You could, if it was well done.
I don't like that.
Sweet.
Oh,
So
boy,
if you're
I
the
need
dog, can I be the bond?
Settle down there, lover boy. You
Where-
already got one, you know.
Oh yeah.
I hear you.
I heard you took one for the team.
I did. I solved that.
With your tongue.
I did.
Is he gonna have like a lady ghost follow him around?
I don't know.
So far, there hasn't been
I have
anything.
been, I have been a little.
She
I have been
called him an
talking to
idiot
you.
and
Well,
told
actually, I
him
have
to
been
go
talking
away,
to you. Once
so.
you get back, I'll have some therapy sessions with the professor. Still dealing with a little depression.
So I gotta use my psychology. This time it will work because he knows my language.
Let's see.
I buy into Ginny Jones.
So we pretty much have another week until the ball.
In 3 days, you have an appointment with supposedly some contact of Casey that knows how to make these primal tattoos. But
Can I-
the ball takes place on midnight on the 6th day.
Just so you know, everybody else got these tattoos around their groin, specifically their scrolls.
Oh, okay.
Our
Or no.
our secretary, Lisa Mortensen.
Lisa Morton's, yeah.
Yeah, she got it on her genitalia.
Is she young and pretty?
I can show you a picture here. For the most part, she is, I suppose, fairly pretty. She is, you would say, either late 20s, early 30s. I have the...
So where is this happening?
This is
Long Island.
happening at a private residence about 45 minutes out of Manhattan.
So, America.
Yep, America.
Long Island. That's why I asked the professor if you wanted ready to go to another
Will,
island. that was
will
on the same-
Gatsby be attending?
Great Gatsby.
Is that what the King in Yellow does?
Remember the last island we went to off the coast of New York?
So you can see that,
Insane.
for the most part, Lisa Morton's looks to be kind of a fairly humble girl. I'd say red hair, well done.
Have fun with that.
Although Gerhard Pfister might get jealous if he hears that you took her and not him.
Exactly.
Who?
Gerhard Pfister, your boyfriend?
No, that's right.
Don Juan.
Hey, we wouldn't have to pay for my suit or my costume.
He probably wouldn't. He'd probably show you a horribly great time. He does have savoir-faire and lots of money.
If you're into that thing, it might not be broke at all.
Yeah.
You'd be wonderful.
Gerhard Pfister is a very attractive man.
He is.
Could do with worse in prison.
He'll be Cleopatra and you can be his
He
company.
actually wants to go see
There
the
you
play
go.
Sodom
Yeah,
with you.
that actually.
You would be all for that.
Did I ever express that I wasn't?
Well, and then you get
Not really. For the most part, you aren't aware of his
Yeah,
sexual
you-
preferences.
That's why we put you on the
Jeb
train.
kept pushing you into a position where he's like, no. Thomas can show you how to fire that rifle.
Remember when
And you would put your arms around him, and you're like, no, you just keep firing it limp-wristed like that. And he's like, oh, really? Can you show me how to do it? And you're like, of course I can show you. I'm an ex-soldier. And they grab you firmly like this, and he's like, oh.
Exactly.
You're like, I don't know, this guy's kind of weird, but he's okay.
Yep. Huh, you did kinda
Right
grind
over your
up-
head, Thomas. Right over your head. You didn't
grind up
realize.
against me, but other than that,
Yeah. I will say, you are aware that he is one of the lead researchers for the Numerical Society regarding material sciences and chemistry as well.
Oh, that's right.
suddenly your pants drop.
Where's he?
He's what is it? You know that he has a summer home in Australia, but otherwise primarily does his work in Germany. But he seems he moved up into an advisory position for the Numismatic Society, so he may be based out of Norway now.
That's how you can roll your extra income.
You sure could-
Pool boy, summertime pool boy.
Wow, Thomas scores himself out.
Taking one for the team.
No. That's you being a whore.
Taking one for myself.
Yep.
Taking care of things.
Being a whore.
Where'd you get all those $100 bills there? And he's like, they're in my G-string. Don't ask. I just packed them crumpled bills in my suitcase and left. But yeah, the event's in 6 days. It says that you can take whoever you want as your guest. It's pretty much anyone that's part of Obduro, Brooklyn.
What?
Why does he? How did he?
Why can't I take out the Elantros? Well,
You're just
gonna
gonna
be
take a
real
cab, so...
Brooklyn.
No. What I'm saying is, you are invited. You all have the possibility of having a +1.
Right. But how did he know? Why is he interested in the Bureau of Brooklyn?
She says that she's not sure specifically. You guys have been in the paper multiple times before, working with the city, and even recently with what have you, supposedly the quarantine around Brooklyn and some other things. She says Obduro, Brooklyn is fairly famous for some of the things they did, and you guys were in the paper probably about 2 years back for saving that boy in the subway system.
That's the only good deed in the paper.
Exactly.
Well, yeah.
In fairness, a lot of the other things you've done as of late hasn't ever gone published anywhere.
But it's somebody with lots of connections who was interested to find things out. So it's possible.
He
Sounds like the perfect
We've
chance
lost
to
our
sell
shadow
legal
status. Just deal with it.
He doesn't know about what we do. In the
I don't think he does either.
Potentially, maybe. Is there any connection to the Numerical Society?
To him directly, you'd have the research.
Okay. If we got time, we'll do that. Once I get Jeb and the professor back, I'm willing to teleport there via signals if need be, but otherwise I'm happy to ride on the top of a bus going through the middle of Africa. So.
Okay. No, for the most part, you're fairly rough and tumble. It's not too difficult for you to make your way through Africa to Kenya. Just a couple. What is it? It takes you probably about 2 days to get there, and then you can get back. I'd say in relative time to get back to what have you.
Okay.
Get back to
Once I
for the
find him, I would
tattoos.
teleport his draw signal. Teleport
Okay,
to
so
the
then
Steely Stone.
a day and a half you can
You
get
know,
there.
So, but to get there, I don't have a destination.
And your passport at the border?
And I'll walk through Chanton to get
Well,
to Africa, or
Yep.
into Cairo, and from there I don't think
Once you're in
there's
Cairo, there's not going to be a
Yeah.
lot of border patrol.
There's a little gold coin, I get on the bus, they don't ask questions.
Mm.
Borders, what are borders? Hey, look, that's an elephant.
You hand him a gold coin. It looks at you, looks back at you, and just stands up, grabs the person in the front seat, throws them out. You're so.
Right.
I want that.
Otherwise, the rest of you,
First of us, what?
what are you doing?
We have basically the rest of this week
got 2
before
weeks,
the
2 days.
Should I
show.
continue my wrinkle cream research?
Okay, you can give me
Alchemy or research?
you can give me a, I would say, give me an alchemy roll, which is more of a concept.
Who are you going to take?
Of the Elantros.
Who's she again?
Althea Montrose is the individual from the British Museum. She was the library in Glasgow when the ghoul infestation hit.
Yeah, I wasn't here for that. But okay.
She was the researcher who was working in the British Museum when she came into contact with the milk of the black goat.
Oh,
And she
that's
went,
her?
Yep, she
Okay.
went a little bit crazy, but she said that somebody within the British Museum was doing shit, and she didn't know who. And then,
She also knows a lot of mythos stuff and spells. Just
yep,
like
she knows a fair amount of research material, even though she's only actually gotten into spells and other things of that nature relatively recently. but she does seem to be a bit of an expert on certain types of wards.
Like Elder Sign, I
Yep.
learned.
Pass by
3.
3.
You think with certain types of rare plants that you might be able to find throughout the New York State area, you'd have to give me either a streetwise or a merchant to procure. Thank you. Procure these things.
Merchant? I don't think I have merchant. Okay, so 15. So pass by 6.
Okay. Okay. So,
Oh,
When I go to fetch those two, you guys should.
you believe
I
that for
also
Try to
have
find
gangster
out
swagger
what
for
it's
non-verbal
filmed to be.
streetwise.
Okay.
You should be looking.
For the most part, it's primarily finding who would sell some of these exotic plants. But you can find out and potentially purchase materials. I would say per unit, you're probably looking at somewhere around, I want to say,
Every time we get invited to these things, people.
$105 per unit. And you think that one of the waxes should provide enough material to make 2.
Well, I'm thinking of like units of algae in terms of,
Okay, the units of algae. Then essentially 1 unit of vital essence is what they produce.
that
Could
was
make you
better.
2 units of this kind of anti-aging cream. In addition to $105 worth of miscellaneous components and other things of that nature. You're looking at rare herbs, other things of that nature. And I said theoretically in the future you can either set up some sort of greenhouse or exotic materials dealer where you might find better material or grow some of their own herbs yourselves. Because right now you don't really have a base. You don't have your storage room full of all your eyes of newt and other things of that nature that you would need to make these things. However, the hard stuff to come across is this vital essence and the life wax. That's your main ingredients here.
So, I guess, how long does that take me? Do I still have time left?
The material will be a day. It depends on your alchemy whether or not you can get it done before the tattoo comes up.
Well, it's something I could theoretically just stop, right, and come back to.
Theoretically.
So after that,
Some of the ingredients would be in a state where they wouldn't stay good for like multiple days. In their ultimate form, they'd be stable, but they're kind of in an intermediary state where temperatures and other things like that.
2 days before, 2 days after.
You want to say practically, I can leave them sitting there, right?
You'd think if you stopped it maybe 2 days in, you didn't finish it, they'd probably be still relatively fine if you kept them in the cool area for maybe 3 or 4 days after that, but after they would start to degrade or break into other things.
So I guess I'll take those 2 days to start it.
Give me an alchemy roll.
Pass by 5.
Okay. For the most part, within the 2 days, you can manage to make essentially probably about 2 ounces worth of the cream. Each one is an application for most of somebody's face, the back of their neck, other things of that nature. Kind of visible locations like maybe your hands and face.
So like a full body cream, basically.
Not a full body,
Well,
but you're
full
looking at
visible cream.
full visible, like hands and your face. If the individual was bald, it wouldn't be enough. You'd need 2 units for everything there.
Okay. So it
However,
costs.
you can write down that you have homebrewed anti-aging cream. 2 units of it, or 2
that
ounces.
cost me $105 for this street stuff, right?
For the materials for each one. So it'd be
I thought it was for each unit of algae. It was 105, and it produced 2 things.
excuse me, for each unit that you ultimately produce. So each one of these creams takes half a unit of vital essence,
Okay.
and then $105 for each after that.
Okay. So
However, theoretically, somebody exceptionally rich, maybe somebody that you meet at a huge theater event for the ages, would be pay more than $105 per unit for this stuff.
So now you're selling snake oil.
Wait, it's not cost you 105 plus everything we've set up there.
did I come up with? Because I was also doing like the drink thing.
I haven't had time for that as of yet.
Okay. So I have 2 anti-aging.
He may also sell it to, was it
Jack. Jack's character might try to take some money from B to pay for the anti-aging cream.
Rub it on
Okay,
his
so it's-
legs.
Yep.
Jack
So-
might abduct
There's
you
the
in
thighs
middle
of a
the night.
20-year-old man.
So I have 2 5-year anti-aging creams, basically.
Theoretically. You haven't actually you used a little bit of it for testing purposes, but you haven't actually like put anything on like a wrinkled old rat to see how it works. You feel good about it. It's a prototype.
Who's the oldest person?
Totally going to be honest.
He could also try to sell it to the hospital. You know how they get cosmetic surgery and they have special creams they sell to the rich
Potentially.
people to help with healing.
So
I just like the part that we haven't tested for side effects before we go right to
I guess
applications.
from an alchemical perspective, should I make a roll like if I can think of a side effect or if I think there would be any? Or,
You can give me a IQ-based alchemy.
okay.
It's normally IQ-based, but just in case. I have to say that sometimes, just in case somebody else is based on a different skill.
So pass by 4.
That's by 4. You would say you're a little bit worried about how long the effect might last, meaning it might reverse 5 years, and then maybe if the mixture isn't quite right, it degrades after about 3 months.
That just means
Theoretically,
they'll buy
some.
more.
But I made a pretty good roll, right?
From what you can tell, I mean, you'd need to do testing. Part of the issue is the more testing you do, the more you have to waste on testing.
But you're talking about selling it for big money to wealthy people who really like to not
You have a strong feeling that it should work. You're worried about this, how long it might last. It might exacerbate certain things like tumor cells.
Oh, jeez.
If they have, like, say,
Exactly. Nobody sees this.
if they have, like, say,
What's
some
this?
sort
You
of
got fish scales for skin now?
some
Or
sort of
got
malignant
clothes
mole on their face or something of that nature, theoretically you could be dumping in essence into their skin cells, and under normal conditions the skins would try to rejuvenate themselves. Under tumorous
Your
or
face
cancerous
so
conditions, it might exacerbate the cancerous tissue that's already there, causing it to grow much more
Then
rapidly.
ask Jeff to test it like you said.
Yep, I'm sure he has no skin, or is that sunspots or
You're kidding,
tumors.
kidding,
Exactly.
No,
He
no,
died
he
instantaneously. It was melanoma. I've never seen such an advanced case. Terminally ill in 1 minute.
I guess. So that took me like a day to make the 2 units, right?
It took you 1.8 days, so most of
Okay.
the 2 days.
And then we get tatted.
Okay, then we can come back and make more and test. Well, okay. So I have 0.2 of a day.
Okay.
I really want to say here, kitty, 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 but
You could accomplish something minor, like if you needed to drop off something at the other PCs or talk to somebody.
I can rub the cream on something and come back and...
You could use one of your units on something. It wouldn't be too hard to either purchase or find a small animal inside of New York City and try to determine
find
on
an old
experiments.
stray dog or something.
Or pigeon.
Or a pigeon.
Straight cat.
Well,
Yeah.
how do I judge the age of a pigeon?
By the rings or on their
You'd
neck.
have to remove the feathers.
You found an old dog.
I feel like there's got to be stray
Well,
dogs.
they
around.
gray and stuff. You find an old dog, you can,
Yeah, you'd occasionally find that there are stray
in
dogs and
5 years
cats
might
inside
be a
of New
lot
York.
of freaking
So
time
then
for a
he
dog.
has a
Yeah, you have
rabid,
a point.
like Cthulhu dog running around New York.
Just let the mad scientists go.
Hey, it's based on research that was made by a mad scientist, so we're good.
As I told the
Can I find a stray dog?
You can give me either a animal handling roll or a tracking.
Okay, I have tracking, I'm pretty sure. Okay. Is perception IQ based?
No, perception is perception based.
Is it calculated perception?
Yep.
No,
No,
it's its own.
perception.
No, it's its own
a
stat.
stat.
It starts at 10, you put points into it, it goes up.
Just wanted to double check. Okay, so pass by 6.
Okay. For the most part, you can lure in kind of a stray dog. Mid-size, probably about 50, 60 pounds. It looks a little bit mangy where it might be close to like 18, 19 years old, but is only held on to being very stubborn. You can lure him in with kind of meat, but you don't have a good inclination that if this dog freaks out on you at some point in time, this dog will probably fight until he dies of a heart attack or something.
It's just the dog issue. Superpower.
Yes!
I will call him T-Bone.
Exactly.
So, I guess can probably erect a cage from something, right? Or some sort of kennel.
There are shipping containers inside of the warehouse.
Perfect.
You could put like a... you can try to make a latch. You can give me like an either an IQ check or a machinist roll.
You're back at the beginning of this week, right?
suppose.
I feel like the 5 minutes to make a latch for a machinist, right?
I want you to build a cage for a not great-looking animal.
For our new watchdog.
Some sort of mixed breed of bulldog and something else.
Sure, I roll my critical success for a freaking machinist roll for a dog kennel.
Mighty fine dog collar, you man.
You have an elaborate cage for the animal where ultimately there's an isolation section where you can lure him forward with possibly meat or water and then isolate him there and get your little tongs out and try to reach over with the cream and gently apply it.
Give him ideas of tongs. He was just going to be rubbing it. Hey, Benji.
No, it came with the cage.
Oh, it came
He's
with
like, oh, you're going to be trapping the animal here? Yeah, here's a long tong and a clipper so you can take a rag and just gently wipe it on him.
By the way, that's a duel. It was
This is so
a 3 out of 13. It's a 5, 10, and a 3.
Yep.
Just sit back and watch the train wreck happen.
I know
So
nothing
the cage
about
is set up, however the tattoo would be the next thing that happens.
So,
All right.
well,
The remainder of your day would be luring.
On, right?
Yep. The remainder of the day would be setting things up. You would want, I suppose, you're getting pretty tired. I would probably say you'd want to wait until the next day because you're going to want to.
You want to watch it happen.
You'd want to watch it over the next several hours to see what happens. Because what
if you
happens if
rub it and
you
walk
rub it
away.
on, it's like, oh, it looks fine. They come back, either the cage is ripped apart or the dog is dried up into a mummy, and you're like, I really wish I was here during that intermediate time period to see what the hell happened. Looks like I'll have to find another stray.
Exactly.
So you'll want to sit there and then watch for the rest of the day. So I suppose you're
guess
tired
I'm
enough where you
skipping
might
the
miss it.
long-term effects of a day.
We
So
go get tatted up.
what happened to the ticks or fleas or mites that are on
We're not
the
talking
side?
about that right now. We're just talking about dogs.
We're going to find that out in a minute here.
Yup.
Time to
We're not
watch
talking about
it.
bacteria on the skin. We're not talking about any kind of fleas or ticks or
Don't bring those
lice.
things up. Let him figure that out on his own. That's the way this
There's a
thing
giant
happens.
spider in here. That is a tick, actually. Wow.
All right.
So,
I'll let
the
my
next
friend
day...
here go first as far as getting his tat. Just tell the man where you want to get it. I told you where everybody got theirs.
There's an... was
What does
it...
it look like?
Ultimately, Casey takes you to meet a man. Casey kind of looks like a generic individual, a little bit of a gangster swagger to himself. He ultimately takes you to an individual through the Chantries. You're not sure where it is. You imagine that it's somewhere in the South American continent that he takes you. But you pay the money. Was it you pay the money up front prior, right?
Yeah.
And it's just for him, or you're for yourself
Both
as
of
well.
us. Both
Okay.
of us are
So the 24,000.
Yeah.
Do you need new tats?
His
I stripped my
were
flesh
mostly
off, yeah.
removed when his flesh got smeared
okay.
across
I was thinking Dreamland.
space.
Once you've flayed yourself, you can talk to me about pain.
All right. So the procedure takes probably about 3 hours for both of you. For you, I mean, it's fine. Do you have high pain threshold?
No,
It
I
is.
do let him go. Do you tell the man where you want your tattoo?
back.
That's where he normally does it. He uses essentially stone picks on the end of a long rod where he just taps the tattoo into you.
Very sanitary.
It's not terribly that sanitary, and it does take a long time, and it does hurt. It's not the kind of a finer needle that they end up using. Well, 1920s version of a fine needle. But still, it's kind of a small piece of flint that is driven into your back with ink. The process is kind of painful.
Walk up, little soldier.
You don't know-
Swipe that tear.
You don't really have any indication of what the rune does other than what Hunter has told you thus far.
Can I make a pharmacology
You
roll?
can give me a symbol drawing.
Nope.
Maybe looking at the one he's doing on me.
Unless I
Yep.
can default.
Not really. It does seem to be some sort of war, but you've never seen anything that looks like it prior.
You could ask.
Well, you tell me if you know. I hope.
Hunter seems to have...
I've told you.
Hunter sets you up for a little bit of a downfall where he's just talking to you just fine as he gets a tattoo, and you sit down, you realize, like, how is he not screaming through the process of, like, yeah, that felt like it nicked part of my vertebrae right there. That was a deep one. But no, he seems to have a very high pain threshold. For the most part, you're able to get the tattoo. It is distracting. You're at a -3 for IQ-related skills for the rest of the day. You could theoretically do your other thing there, but essentially you have a large, probably 1.5 foot diameter area on your back that just feels like liquid fire.
Okay. Well, I wasn't planning on doing anything for the rest of the day.
Okay. Ultimately, you get...
No, that's the next 2 days.
Ultimately, what the hell is it? You get an ice block delivered to the warehouse for you, and you just kind of break it up and put it on your back and just kind of chill out for the remainder of the day.
I clean the dog. That's not my key-based skill.
Okay.
He gets a bath. We're at
Give me an
the bath.
animal handling or a will.
Will? I can give you will.
I will. Want to make him into a psychic dog?
So pass by 5.
For the most part, you feel as though you'll have to build up trust, actually. You can, for the most part, get a hose and kind of lightly wash him off and kind of spray some, like dangle some soap over him and then kind of sprint some from there. But he definitely has had a hard knock life. And anytime you kind of approach him near the face, he gets a little bit of a kind of a weird twinkle in his eye, and you're like, no, I'm not.
What's the
All right.
That's a throat-ripping twinkle.
And, yeah, I mean, he seems to have a lot of...
do a body language to tell me if he's going to rip on my throat.
You get a bad feeling that kind of when you get your hand there, you just get into a stance, and he doesn't really growl at you, but his teeth kind of come up. And I suppose you notice that there's a lot of scars on him and other things of that nature.
Scrapper.
He's a scrapper.
food?
But for the most part, you're able to lure him with what the hell is it? Food. He does try to get out of the cage after the first day. But luckily, due to the masterfulness of the cage, he isn't able to get into it in any kind of significant way.
Thank you.
Otherwise, you imagine just over time feeding him and providing a safe environment for him, he'll start to calm down a little bit. But you don't have animal handling, so just gonna have to build up a
That's what
rapport.
the shock stick is for.
Yeah.
Calm down.
Yep.
Give me the disintegration stick.
I'm just gonna keep putting anti-life cream on him and shocking him.
It can only turn out for the better.
Yep.
It's positive life cream.
Yep, it is.
It's not anti-life cream.
No, I understand. That's why he's going to survive and go resistant to electrical stimulus.
Why is there a were-dog that hunts me?
All right, but that's essentially what you do for the rest of the day. You
Yeah.
can clean him up. He's like missing patches of hair. I mean, he doesn't look long for this world.
We can extend that.
Doing him a favor.
Well, this, right, mind you, is more of a skin cream. It will have kind of rejuvenated effects, but
We're
not
working
necessarily.
up to it.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like a simpy.
All
We'll
right.
start calling him Sparky.
Beyond that, anyone else doing anything? Otherwise, we're moving on to the next D.
I don't know what to work with pudding.
My time for this week is I'm going to investigate this Anthony Abbott Carmichael.
Okay.
Can I put another point
So
in
that was the
gravity
tattoo
with
that
him?
cost 12,000, right?
Yeah, so you should write down the roll.
I'll allow you that by the end of the week. You can give me a research roll there, Chris.
Research.
So what does that bring it up to then?
It should be at power straight up.
By 11?
Testing going on.
All right, you made it by 11?
And
By 11.
testing going on.
The 5 plays that he wrote were Beloved Dead, His Master's Voice, Heart's Blood, Poisoned Love, and his last one, Sodom. There's reviews on each one of the plays.
One more time. Beloved Dead.
Beloved Dead, His Master's Voice, Heart's Blood, Poisoned Love, and Sodom. There's
Wholesome family
Voice.
entertainment.
Poison Blood.
and
You sure it's
Sodom.
not Sodom with me?
Does your character have an Edict memory, Chris?
Yes.
Okay, you don't have to write it down.
Well, I might not remember, so he needs to write it all down.
I've got 4. What's I'm missing one?
Beloved Dead, His Master's Voice, Heart's Blood, Poisoned Love, and Sodom.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Any reviews?
Was it Beloved Dead? The hypnotic forcefulness of this piece cannot be denied, despite or perhaps because of the grotesque amour-foi that is its subject. There was 188 performers in it. This review was from the New York Times. His Master's Voice, tediously derivative of Marlowe's Faust. The sole spark of originality in this work appears to have been spent in restaging Marlowe's play for modern audiences. The author has secured himself in the plum role of Victor, head of a large arms manufacturing firm. I found the acting force in the drama trivial. The contention of a single bomb able to destroy a city is quite ridiculous. There's 501 performers, but otherwise did fairly well.
Wow, that's a lot of performers, like, just for ritual.
Heart's Blood. Once again, Mr. Carmichael has a sure hit on his hands. Despite the production's total lack of artistic merit, this latest effort features laughable recreations of Druid life in ancient Britain, graphic on-stage murders, an orgasmic climax in which the audience is endlessly invited to participate. No one did on the opening night, or should we be still sitting there? This was Hiram Downing of the New York Polar Riposte. Original run is 399 performers.
Porn stars.
Poisoned Love. I found his previous work resonant with imagination, firmly grasping the essentials of plot and character, and demonstrating a subtle narrative voice. However, the continued success of Poisoned Love baffles me, and I must attribute its commercial success solely to those prudent interests among New York's public who care to know family details unsuitable for discussion of his paper. Original run was 141 performers.
So which one was the Druid one? I think I've gotten it. You're out of order.
I think that was the orgy one.
Which one was the what
Tell
one?
me, which one was the Druid one?
Heart's Blood.
Okay, I got a Poisoned Blood, I got a... And,
Poisoned Love.
Poisoned Love.
Also, good news.
And I got a Beloved Dead.
Huh?
I have Beloved Dead, his master's voice.
Heart's Blood.
I got Beloved Dead twice, sorry.
Now, the only one that actually got across the board really bad reviews, Sodom. For once, the opening night, audiences seem to agree with seasoned critics. Gallons of purple-eyed makeup and gratuitous innuendo cannot replace dialogue, plot, or seasonal acting. Good riddance. This is Bosley DePore of the New York Post. It looks like this play only ran two performances. The headline one was obscured to page 3 due to a boy being found in the subway station that particular week.
He wants revenge.
Yep.
A what?
The headline news of that particular week of the Sodom's opening show was put on page 3 because of a Obduro finding a lost Irish boy in the subway system. The next was more about the rest was about other aspects of Obduro. Then you end up having
That's why
a column on crime within the city, and then essentially the New York immigrants, and ultimately his play was put on page 3.
Should we just boycott? Instead of getting taken.
No, this guy's got enough dancing around the edges of the occult to be a actual
We should find out what he's
practitioner.
wearing and we all wear it. And then draw attention from him.
Otherwise, you can find apparently sometime after the play Sodom, he had a mental breakdown and was placed into an asylum upstate.
Only lead to good things.
However, he's been recently cleared with a bill of clean health about 2 months ago. That's when he started working on a new play.
Do you know the facility professor?
Otherwise, he's indeed worth close to about $74 million. He has a lot of connections between New York's upper crust. I should say a lot of the East Coast upper crust, even some old world connections.
And he wants
Whole
revenge.
world connection.
How long is that? Pretty much should take me a day to go find that, or
With an 11, I'd probably say, yeah, it takes you about a day.
I will hit some costume shops to see what their ideas are. I'm thinking of like Blackbeard. That's all I can think of. That's kind of appropriate for the time period. So
From some words, they do have some connections to other costume shops in the area, and they can't account for everyone that's going to be making it from out of state or out of country. But they haven't heard anyone coming with a Blackbeard costume. They do know that there's going to be one pirate, but it's more of a generic pirate with a real world parrot. They can throw you something. However, when you do, you do mention the parade, or not the parade, but the gala that you're going to, they do recommend that a costume starting at 100 is probably going to be your base for what you want to actually bring to this type of event. Mind you, from what they understand, the domino masks will be provided for anyone not coming without a costume.
What about those cultist cloaks and masks that we got to go to IRM?
You would be aware that those are printed up with realistic, if I shouldn't say real satanic symbols on the front and back.
They're authentic.
Yeah.
Well, they're not. The symbols are authentic, but not the cloaks were just theatrical cloaks and masks.
Hand stitched.
If you want to wear them, maybe you can get them back.
Hand stitched by Satan worshiper.
either that or a snake ghillie suit, which is above their tech level.
What's the costume there? You just look like a guy in a leotard.
Mine.
Those leaves.
I go for the costume, long sleeve, puffy shirt, sword.
So what are you looking for? They're recommending at least 100 for the outfit. They can give you something cheaper, but given the nature of the event,
I'll go. You know,
Go with the
100.
real sword.
all right.
Actually, it's my next. I don't have a problem with 100. So.
They'll try to expedite this so that you'll have it pressed, and they'll end up having you in for a fitting the day prior if they can work you in there.
Sure, that's.
All right.
So we would have got another paycheck because we've already done. So at the end of this week, we'd be getting another, right? During tonight, we would have got a paycheck. And then
Actually,
Potentially.
would be our
I'm not sure. I don't.
Yes.
I don't.
When we finish our first
I don't
week,
keep a good
you'll-
track of that. Every 2 weeks, you get a paycheck.
We
Just
get a
remember.
paycheck at some point during this time.
Yeah.
So we.
When did Edgar Allan Poe write that one about the red mess of death?
I don't know offhand.
Yeah, I'll do Blackbeard and I'll fresh up my knowledge of him.
Okay. They take some basic measurements now. You'll they'll ask for at least half the payment now, just to
Yeah.
start with materials, and then as you come back, they'll have you for a specific fitting, and then kind of put it all together that final day. They'll want a couple hours of your time there, and see what you think. Otherwise, though, they're going to try to recreate it as best as possible. Do
This is 8 o'clock. Yeah, I'll be here
you have any savoir-faire?
military.
Okay.
My thought was I was going to spend the rest of my time researching high society.
Can I ask Althea Montrose if she has time to go to this?
She does. She would have, from what she understands, and she's a bit, I suppose, unaccustomed to it, she could take the Chantry ways
Yeah.
and make it over to Massachusetts, but it might take her a little bit. She'll have to ask around. She's never taken that before.
Why don't you go get her?
Okay, I'll go get her.
Be the gentleman. Go get her and escort her to the chantry.
Otherwise, then later into the evening, you can drive to Massachusetts, go over. She can wait at the Chantry near London, and then you can pick her up and then be back probably within the day. What the hell is it? She can stay at Obduro, or you do have room at your
Yeah,
home.
at my house.
Right. She'll look around, talk to the operator, see what she can do for a costume. She actually will probably borrow some sort of recreation from the British Museum. What would she go for?
She's the ketchup, you're the hot dog.
I will contact you guys at some point if like this costume that I'm here at this clothier. There's going to be at least 100. Pick an idea.
She'll actually go as
They know
Morgan
most
Le
of
Fay
us.
if you want to go as Merlin.
Okay. I got the wand.
All right.
Unless you do
She has the wardrobes here, and she'll talk to the antiquities restorer, and provided you don't damage them in any way, it should be fine.
Oh my god.
She says they were put into kind of an exhibit for the Camelot exhibit, but some of these are authentic from essentially medieval Europe, so she'd provide you don't stain them or anything else of that nature. All right.
Just get one made for you.
Professor freezes.
Yeah, I can't guarantee that.
Barrel roll mud.
Yeah, or like glocky ooze or something. I'll just have to take it off during combat then.
Yep.
Good
Piece by
plan.
piece. Like, oh wait, guys, wait.
No. She knows how to teleport. Just kabink. Close.
Just get Velcro sewn up the back.
1 second.
All right. So, what are the rest of you doing for the remainder of the week?
We have 2
2
days,
days.
and kind of the third day before midnight.
Yep.
If I can go down to the what is it? The bar, Elvis's bar.
Yep.
Basically, try to see if Jacob's there.
He is not.
Okay.
They say that they're probably expecting him in a couple hours.
I'll hang out then.
All right. Ultimately, you wait a couple hours. He does come in.
Was Elvis available during that time?
I would say yeah.
Okay. I'll talk to him if he's got time. Does he ever see people socially just to kind of shoot the breeze, or is it always...
He says that he's often helping people, but no, he usually, during time periods where people don't come in, he will come into the bar, and he even occasionally sings on stage.
Okay. I'll just shoot the breeze with him. I tell him if you got customers, I understand he's getting late.
Nope, he doesn't have anything. He'll probably have somebody that comes in for about 30 minutes, but then that's about it. Otherwise, no.
All right. And then I'll wait for Jacob to show up.
All right.
Actually, I do ask Elvis, does he know anything about how many Garu served in the German army during World War I?
He'll ask you for what side.
For the German side in World War I?
He's aware that
Staff officer.
there was some
rank or
research,
higher.
even in the Great War, there was some research into the occult. And some of the Black Spiral Dancers and other nefarious entities were hoping that the Germans would kind of push in further into Europe and take the area. Would then have some sort of connection to the government in place.
Okay.
And would just kind of push back the normal Garu in the area, things of that nature.
So how many of them served? Again,
They
staff
see even in that region, it probably couldn't have been more than, you'd say, 10 to 20. Garu are fairly rare nowadays, and they're pretty spread out. They have very vast territorial distances. It'd be unusual to see a lot of them working together, but he imagines that you probably could fit 10 to 20 within the army if they were in separate areas.
Okay. Any that specifically were, probably, what would have been the equivalent rank for a division? Brigadier General or 1-star General, 2-star General, something like that, Lieutenant Colonel?
You'd imagine, since obviously you'd probably say that some of them probably could have got up to the level of German, where Garu can disguise themselves indefinitely as humans. So he is only aware of what is he saying? You'd probably be aware that one got to a 1-star General, and then there'd be various others that were somewhere between like Master Chief or Brigadier General.
Okay. Any of them female?
He was familiar.
Getting to know who you're hooking up with, huh?
He's familiar with 2.
There's 2 female ones?
Yep. He says there's not in Black Spiral Dancer Society, there isn't really a division of sexes. Whoever can kill each other. So it's purely dominant. Was it?
Right.
Purely.
But they do have different anatomies, right?
Yeah. He says they're half human.
Right. Okay. So there's 2 female, and what ranks did they hold in the German army?
He believes one of them might have been a lieutenant, another one might have been somewhere around a brigadier general or master chief.
They let ladies be in the army?
Well, I'm not sure what the specifics are, but technically speaking, in some of these instances, there would be a special, not special, but unusual circumstances.
Okay.
Some of the soldiers under their wing could have questioned why they were there, but it's very likely they didn't question too long without either disappearing or being repositioned. And they are aware that some of the Black Spiral Dancers that were within the German army, would often create fumori within their ranks, essentially half men, half spirits, creating small divisions of, if you will, demonic soldiers.
So for the shock troops, that sort of thing.
These smaller units, that's why he says it's hard to determine the exact rank, because usually even if they technically have the authorization to overrank other people because they're in their own special little divisions, they primarily were sent in as kind of tactical operation shock troops.
How big did they ever make these little stormtrooper groups?
The biggest he ever heard of was probably about 120 troops. And he believes that, the unit was sent to try to take Paris late in the war.
Does that coincide with some of the stories I heard?
Supposedly Angus Urquhart was sent with a team from what then wasn't really called the MI5, but to stop a team of, a large division that was supposedly going to
take Paris. Right?
Take Paris.
Okay. Ask for the dates on that. And then who was in charge of that one?
From what he understands, he doesn't know the name, but the commander was known, what he would say, the German word for harvester.
Okay. And then was that the Brigadier General?
Yep. Supposedly, individuals encountering that particular unit would just disappear. They would never find the bodies.
Okay.
They were harvested.
That's where she got the nickname.
Okay. Do you know what supernatural things she was trying to accomplish then? Or?
He doesn't know specifically because he can't imagine that the Garu 100%. How do they put it? He's pretty sure the Black Spiral Dancers weren't 100% under the control of the Germans.
Okay.
Very likely that they're just causing death and destruction. From what he understands, the Harvester most likely was collecting souls for not only the army, but probably for their own personal agenda, and that happened to coincide.
Okay. Basically, assuming the time goes by, Jacob shows up. Does he show up in 2 hours? So
Yep.
I'll excuse myself from Elvis thanking him for his time. Offer to buy Jacob a drink.
Oh, sure.
Kind of shoot the breeze in a little bit, and then if he doesn't mind, I'm kind of questioning you about Black Spiral Dancers, or is that an offensive subject?
He is a little bit taken aback, but he says, no, it's not an offensive subject. It's just, I suppose, not one he's terribly happy with.
I understand.
But he'll answer questions, and it'll help.
Basically, I'll ask him if he knows or has any familiarity with World War I, specifically its Harvester, or any of the other 2 high-ranking Black Spiral Dancers that were in the German army.
He'll give you a little bit of the basics. We'll kind of start a little bit at the beginning that the Black Spiral Dancers used to be a very powerful clan of Garu that specifically where they spearhead the weapon against evil and ultimately waged their war directly into the heart of darkness, and they came out wrong.
Okay.
So it's a touchy subject because they were some of their most beloved peoples.
Okay. So if you knew where one was it basically automatically that you're going to attack them?
He would say, not necessarily. There's few Garu left,
Okay.
And they try to keep them in check. He says a lot of their dens are kind of like rat nests. Often they end up having kind of similar. It'd be difficult. He said it'd be like hunting down individuals and the hell is the term? It'd be like hunting down humans inside of like tunnel complexes or things like that.
Yeah.
Or very,
Like the Turkish in their own.
Exactly.
you know.
Okay.
He says if one was causing an issue, then they would try to get enough people together. The Garu are territorial, but there are clans, and the clans will unite against particular threats.
Okay.
Primarily, they want to preserve preserve the boundaries between worlds, and they worship Gaia. And he'll say that the Iron Riders are a little bit more lenient towards humankind, but often the other Garu clans don't necessarily. Aren't going to necessarily stop any kind of minor infractions with like your government or other things of that nature because it doesn't deal with Mother Nature.
Okay.
And some of the other Garu clans don't necessarily actually really like what humans are doing to the world.
Sure.
So he says if there was some sort of if something that they deemed was threatening was brewing, they would try to pool their resources together and destroy it. Usually it ends poorly because an equal amount of losses are on each side.
Yeah.
And usually what that does is just slows it down until something else happens.
Okay. So of the Black Spiral Dancers, are there? I would assume there's very few that would be on a power level just a little bit below normal.
He says that he's not. What is it? There wouldn't be any left on Earth that are like that.
No, I understand. They live in Penumbra or something like that. But there can't
He
be
says
too
low
many,
umbra or things of that nature.
Yeah, low umbra. Okay.
Something like that would very likely be easily found
Okay.
under a certain amount of time. He says if one were on Earth, he finds that unlikely.
Okay. So these 3 generals or these high-ranking officers, none of them are on that scale.
He's he'll say that either of those. He was aware that there was one Black Spiral Dancer within the German ranks that was particularly, I suppose, adept at binding demonic spirits or other high-level entities, and they themselves weren't incredibly that powerful, other than they were building up. They were very adept at creating human hybrids.
Okay. Fomori or whatever.
Fomori, essentially demonic soldiers.
And which one was that? Was that the Harvester?
You'd probably say that the one that sounds the most likely is the Harvester. Theoretically, with the same amount of notions, somebody could forge some sort of pact or even a totem in which a Garu would become half Garu, half human. Or I should say a third Garu, a third human, and a third something else.
That sounds pretty horrible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he would equate like he would equate the dangerousness of a human becoming part spirit.
Okay.
They could have all sorts of powers, abilities, or be incredibly dangerous. And he says it just exacerbates what would already happen with Black Spiral Dancer.
Okay. So if I had news of Black Spiral Dancer, would that be something that you'd be interested in or potentially assisting with? Or pointing us to someone else in your clan that maybe is closer to the epicenter?
He says, yeah, it depends on what they do. We still run into Black Spiral Dancers here and there on the outskirts of society, and we'll hear about things about, like, what the hell is it? Small groups of people or hikers or other things of that just disappear or are ripped to shreds or other things of that nature. And MI5 is aware of that too, but most of the clans, other than the Iron Riders, don't really deal with human infractions unless it has something to do with the greater spirit world or Earth in general. Because the conflicts can become pretty bloody.
Okay.
But he would definitely be interested in knowing about it and keeping an eye on the situation.
Okay. I'll let him know that if something were to come up, I would let you know then. Thank you for his time, buy him another drink or whatever.
Okay.
The rest of the days before the ball thing, I'm just going to go back. I'll spend my time at the chantry practicing magics in the safe room.
The only thing other than Jacob would tell you is, for the most part, he doesn't think that anyone else like that would currently be here, but he is a little bit worried because, according to Garu prophecy, when the eye of the worm opens, essentially what he would describe as a red eye in the sky, which is very similar to the one that's... You can't physically see it, but you can see that these objects and a few other spirit creatures can see it. He says that's the sign of the Garu apocalypse, and I suppose the new genesis for the the Black Spirals. They would be fine if the world unmade itself. So he imagines that there may be dark times coming, especially on that front. There might be black spirals that are coming back from the deep umbra or the low umbra that I suppose otherwise wouldn't be coming back.
Okay. So they view it as a coming war?
Not a war. I suppose they see it as the birth of a new world.
New reality, okay.
And while they've been kind of waiting and doing other various things of that nature, this is... I suppose their kind of second dawn. This is it might be a powerful enough symbol to them to start bringing them back together and working together, where essentially they're going to have another massive war.
It's all kinds of awesome.
He says for the most part, his people will try to make sure that it doesn't actually come into fruition, but he says it can be pretty dark if they ever fully wipe out the remaining Garu, because then there's nothing really... They act as the patrolmen to other dimensions, and there's a lot of shit that gets through that they deal with that no one ever really knows about, and without them there's no border patrol. There's only your own governments that are holding everything in place.
Okay. Before I leave, I'll ask him if he knows, I'm guessing a steel rider down in Dallas. Female.
He does, actually, yeah.
Well, if you have a way to, if you see her, you can tell her Hunter apologizes. We had a bit of a run-in. All I can say is I was ignorant.
Does she know your name?
Yeah, she might. She probably remember.
He said you can give him a scrap of clothing or something.
Yeah, alright, I give him a scrap of clothing. So.
Says he can take this to her and says, I apologize, I've worked with you a little bit. I'm not going to say that I'm going to fully vouch for you, but I'll try to put my word in.
I understand at this time that she was trying to help me, so.
He says a lot of our people can be really antisocial, especially once we realize that we're not really human.
Right.
And most humans, understandably, would try to kill us.
Right.
So there's some issues there, and there's the whole part of growing up as a human and then realizing there's another half of your entire cultural identity.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm just apologizing. We had an altercation.
He'll see what he can do.
And then I'll go back to the chantry and go to the safe room, check my entropy, and
Give me a roll on that.
Practice some deflect harms and things of that nature.
Jack and Corey, who won? Jack and Corey.
Dick damage B. So by 7.
You roll a dozen times, nothing comes up.
Okay.
Theoretically, it's all chance, so
Yep.
it might not be showing something, but you feel pretty confident there's nothing there.
Yep. Probabilities are in my favor, but I was that one off. So, and I'll get a mask to go with my suit.
Okay. For what kind of mask, or?
Just a little. People are showing up in regular suits, right?
Yep.
Fancy
You do know that
suits
they're provided
nonetheless.
domino masks, and at the time period, you know they're just kind
They're
of
just a little Lone Ranger type
Yep.
thing. Yeah, so I'll bring my own Lone Ranger mask.
Okay. All right. Anyone else for the remainder of those 2 days? That hasn't finished
Does
that?
Professor get a bondage gag?
It's a weird Merlin costume.
It is weird. It's edgy.
Edgy.
I think this guy would appreciate edgy.
Yeah, maybe.
I go to the name I was given, or contact the name I was given by Elvis to make a sword,
Okay.
and I introduce myself.
All right. You'll have to give me a streetwise.
You just wanted the sword, didn't you? That's the whole point of the costume.
Yeah.
It's going to totally be non-representative for the community. So all the historical people laugh at me for this folly. And inaccuracies.
By 7. Yeah, let me double check this. Yeah, by 7.
And then he'll laugh.
By 7.
Okay.
He'll have the last.
I have urban survival too, if that helps. So.
There's a very large. What the hell is it? There's a very large antique store in Queens. You're surprised that you haven't actually seen this place before. Coming in the interior, for the most part, you start asking around during the day. It seems like their hours are quite later into the evening, but it seems like the location. Ultimately, you come back closer to around 9 o'clock that night and come into the antiquity store, and there seems to be a lot of genuine antiques from various periods, especially the medieval period. The individuals do kind of give you a feeling as though they're all just kind of watching you as you come in. You do feel a bit, I suppose, I wouldn't say unsafe, but you definitely feel as though causing trouble here might cause some sort of issue. There are a few individuals that just straight out give you a feeling as though they're just kind of looking at you, waiting for something to happen. Or you get a feeling that at some point in time somebody could just lock a door and just shit's going to happen now. So you don't feel good about being here. You have a name.
Are there any customers here, or?
You seem to be. There are some individuals looking around. You didn't see them come in through the front door. And why does an antique shop open at 9 p.m. at night? However, there are genuine antiques here.
Of course.
I'll move reasonably directly. I will scan the stuff, so I kind of a half speed walk,
Okay.
so I can scan and photographically memorize everything,
Okay.
noting interesting stuff.
Can you give me either a archaeology or an anthropology?
Yeah, I can try.
Or defaulting from IQ?
Yes. And that's going to be an 11, and my IQ is a 15, so I guess I fail by 1.
For the most part, I mean, you've seen things at the British Museum that aren't in as good condition. These seem to be genuine. I mean, you can't tell for certain, but they definitely seem to be old and very well taken care of.
I'll move up to the counter,
Okay.
and I will say,
There is a fairly attractive woman. Pale, she's a little bit heavy on the eyeshadow. She has kind of a, what the hell is it? Straggly, I wouldn't say unkempt. It's like almost a fashionably unkempt hairdo. What the hell is it? Red? Oh, that's way too big.
Does she point her finger at him?
Can I see the picture here?
does she look a bit fey?
It's hard to tell. The lighting condition in here is very poor. It's hard to tell. Should I ask you if she can help you with anything? Well, the others definitely give you a feeling of, I suppose, looking as though you're an outsider, or some individuals just outright look potentially hostile. She seems to be fairly calm and has no overt emotional features to her face where she's showing you.
Yes, my name is Thomas Winfield. I spoke to a man named Elvis, asked him where I could have an enchanted sword made. He gave me this name.
You can give me a body language.
By one.
For the most part, she does seem to give a look to some of the other individuals when you mention the name Elvis. In some instances, they seem to calm down or at least give you a little bit more leeway. In a few other instances, you almost see a look of, disappointment in some people's eyes as they slowly just kind of fold into the backgrounds of the antique store, and you don't know where they are now. They're pretty damn quiet wherever the hell they are, and this whole place just gives you a weird kind of bad vibe. Otherwise, she tells you the name of the individual is Marquette. She can ask if he's available. She'll come back shortly thereafter and ask you what specifically you wanted made.
I'm looking for a...
What's that?
In the day.
It's the Horseman's Cavalry Sword, Horseman's Saber. And I was... my problem is I'm a little unfamiliar with enchanted swords, so I was going for Horseman's Saber. And basically I fight evil. That's what I do. Spirits, things like that. That's what I do. The Obduro group. And so I'm looking for a sword that will help.
She asks what type of evil you're fighting.
You should have done. Just to avoid the name dropping.
Nothing in particular. I'm, shall we say, luck favors the prepared.
All right. She tells you that she'll talk to Marquette for you. Shortly thereafter, she says that there will be a price regarding the sword itself. She thinks that she can come to an arrangement with you. She does ask you, though, out of some of the base swords that they have here, she'll provide a variety to be the stock of the weapon. And you can see that there are swords ranging from... what the hell is it? You'd say you can give me either an archaeology and anthropology, or maybe even a small arms, or was it a armory melee weapons?
And I would default from armory small arms as by...
A little bit you could, not heavily though. It might be better than your default IQ, but...
9. So I made normal small arms by 6.
Okay.
So I take...
For the most part, you find there does seem to be a Civil War saber. There's also one that you imagine is from somewhere, I suppose, what the hell is it? The time period of kind of Custer's Last Stand. And there'd also be another one you believe to be, I would say, European, possibly Transylvanian. It's a weighted, tipped, kind of curved blade.
I just need basically something that drops into the broadsword category.
All of these would fall into the broadsword category.
Okay.
They're one-handed weapons for the most part.
Of that 2 to 4 foot.
Yep.
And non-fencing. So, I'll tell her what I see in each of these. Can she tell me what she knows about each of these?
She'll tell you that, what is it? One of the blades is from a young soldier, age 14, that was in the Southern Army during the American Civil War. The saber essentially was found near his body. There is another saber that is from Custer's Last Stand. They believe it was one of his lieutenants, or at least kind of a upper, like first sergeant or something like that, somewhere within his particular division. And they believe that there is a what is it? One of the final blades. I want to say it's a Kurtesh. I'll have to double check that because I have a horrible memory.
Kopesh?
Kopesh? It might be a Kopesh, I'm not sure. What is it? Vlad the Impaler's troops developed a type of weighted curved saber that was on par with kind of a katana, but around the same time period weapons or small arms were being developed, and it never really fully went into production.
When you say on par with the katana, you mean the level of mastery of the blade itself?
It's cutting potential.
I try them out. Does anything feel like particularly handy in my hands, or?
You'd say the saber. Both of the sabers seem to be fairly well crafted. The handle on the early Southern Civil War soldier does seem to be a little bit fragile, but it seems to be kept in excellent condition. The cavalry soldier, was it from the cavalry sword from the Custer's Last Stand seems to be pretty good. There is a bit of a heft on the final weapon, might make it a little bit more difficult to parry with, but you think it would give you more damage in the cutting swing.
I'll go with well, I'm leaning towards the Kopesh, but I'm leaning also towards the Custer's. I don't know how much damage am I looking at? A point or two, or a whole dice?
You don't think it's going to be a whole dice, but it is noticeable.
So if I'm trying to hack limbs off some big beastie, this is probably the more apt choice.
Potentially, yeah. If you got into a sword fight with another individual, you might want the other ones. Unless you plan on taking them out right away.
Now, with the Kopesh, I'm grossly out of uniform if I'm trying to take this to the ball in, what, 2 days?
A little bit, yeah. However, all of these are weapons not necessarily with the age of sale.
Anybody that knows their stuff is going to know that you brought the wrong historical piece to the dance.
So,
however, the upper, the Rothschilds and what have you, Carlyles might not notice.
Yeah.
It just looks expensive. The theatrical group might notice.
I tell her that of these three, I would select the Kopesh.
Okay. She'll detail that what they'll require from you is a bit of your essence for the cost of the weapon. It could be finished by tonight.
Very interesting. In what form do you want my essence?
Primarily blood, and there's other incantations.
What incantations?
She'll describe, you can give me a thaumatology or a religious ritual.
You know I owe you one, so you could offer, some of the algae like that.
I have an old dog that looks like a new dog.
It's not a new dog, but it looks like a new dog.
But he still has this thing with that thing.
Thaumatology by 8.
For the most part, it seems like they're going to drain you of a relatively small amount of blood, but within it, most likely they're going to try to harvest maybe 3 or 4 units of your own personal quintessence that's in your pattern right now.
And how many quintessence do I own if I'm full up?
You're not sure specifically. Maybe
that was the ice flask.
4 to 6. Going to 0 doesn't kill you, mind you.
It's just not available for you to use for magic purposes. And then slowly it'll regrow.
So I will.
Yep, as you break down patterns within your own body, they slowly release their quintessence and picks up by your system. Until you reach a threshold, and it's like putting extra water on a wet sponge.
And you poop it out. It's like vitamin C. Eventually.
So,
So you're saying there's magic?
do you actually need the blood, or are you actually looking for the quintessence?
I'm sure you can harvest quintessence.
She'll describe that each particular type of... I suppose there's certain resonances that they're looking to collect, so specifically blood, yes.
Because I can get units of algae created quintessence.
They're not looking for anything like that.
Come on, Chris. How are they going to make their human being weapons without your presence?
You gonna ask what they're gonna use it for?
Yeah, maybe I should. Can you explain what you're going to do with it?
They'll keep it in reserve until they need it for some particular enchantment or some procedure in the future. Particularly, they're adept at blood magic, so the resonance that they collect would be invaluable. They, otherwise, how do I put it? It's an interesting notion that you can bring up that you have other sources, but specifically they're looking for a specific subset of resonances, specifically through your blood.
You said blood magics. I'm not that familiar with that particular avenue of magics. Can you explain it a little?
Potentially, if you become a longer, I suppose a patron here, they could explain certain things of that nature. But at the time period, they could just say it's craft secrets.
Did you go into a vampire den?
I didn't go there. Don't look at me. It's him. It's the necromancer.
I'll accept.
Alright.
I'll crack a vein. Take what you...
Ultimately, you end up having, what is it? They request you to take a potion. You can determine it probably is alchemical. It looks a little bit like kind of that Big Trouble from Little China where it's kind of bubbling and you're like, is this safe? Is this hot? Oh, it's actually cold. Why is it bubbling? This is weird. And there's a large spot of steam coming off of it.
Is it a suppository?
I don't think Elvis meant me any harm.
Elvis did have a caveat of saying that he's known that these individuals do trade in the business, but theoretically, your end business is with them. It depends on their disposition, other things of that nature. Other than he has heard at least a decent amount of good trades with this individual.
You shouldn't infer that he guaranteed your safety.
Yep.
Yeah, you should ask them to pray to God.
Well, you can infer that, but you might come to regret that inference at some point.
That's why they were disappointed he didn't start anything.
Exactly.
But now they're going to have a taste for commerce.
That sounds like some sort of cookbook.
But oddly enough, so does Gerhardt.
All right. Otherwise, they lay you down. It does seem like they bleed a small amount from you. You'd probably say less than a quarter of a pint.
Okay.
However, I suppose it does feel a little bit odd. It doesn't feel painful whatsoever. You lay down, you're a little bit tired, you wake up, maybe you're not sure how, you have absolute timing?
No.
You wake up sometime later, it's still late at night.
I do have a watch.
There is an individual.
They've turned it off.
For the most part, you don't see any difference in the weapon from what you can tell, but you've been told by Marquette that everything's been completed, and it should be to your liking.
So did you actually ask them what they were going to do to it? Or?
I just said I needed enchanted
Oh, there
light.
you go.
Did you ask if
The
it
sword
was
is
cursed?
enchanted to do as much damage to everything.
This is the individual that you see that brings you your weapon.
Who thinks blood keeps?
Professor! Don't be a pessimist.
He is Marcus?
Marquette?
Marquette, I'm sorry. I didn't write the name down.
He says yes.
Pleasure to meet you.
He doesn't say anything back.
He doesn't care.
Can you tell me what improvements have been added to the blade?
He says that the weapon isn't... What he'll tell you is the weapon is not quite of this earth, and it's enchanted.
And I have this nice knife that can kill anything.
Does he take on the personality of the previous owner?
Does it have any, what I would consider negative side effects?
He says no, it'd be just like a normal sword.
Excellent. And I'll sheath it. I hope it came with a sheath. I don't know if it did or not. Or...
You play pants up and buff on the ground?
No.
No, there's no sheath. He can find you something that might fit that, but given that there's a large kind of... The head is larger than the shaft of the sword, it doesn't oddly shaped sheath.
I thank him, I will take it bare blade with me, and I will get my hat and leave the shop.
Okay. You'll occasionally kind of see he'll stay in the back. He doesn't really reciprocate any of the greetings or that. You're not sure if that's his culture or what. Otherwise, the young woman leads you out to the front counter. You'll just kind of see people occasionally like look over at you and just kind of stare. Some of them will smile, but all of them are kind of weird.
But you do see them going like this.
Not specifically, no.
Do any of them hiss at him as they show fangs?
No, not from what you can tell.
I see like an old guy in the corner going like.
Exactly.
I thank her very much for her service.
She says no thanks required. It was a trade.
I appreciate your willingness to deal with me. Go in peace.
She says,
And
She seems to be perfectly fine here, along with the other motif of everyone else kind of creeping around here.
and I will slip out the shop. Maybe the door closes. I'll turn one last time to take a look at her, smile, and walk out.
Right? She seems to always kind of smile, but the other people in there just kind of give you a weird kind of, almost like a weird like backwater circus-y feel. Every once in a while, there's an individual that
They're
seems...
carnies.
Every once in a while, there's like an individual that's kind of moving between bookshelves. It just kind of seems to slowly glide across the floor as he looks at you.
Yeah.
His head's kind of pointed. It's a little tough to hear.
I will go maybe into an alley, and I'll do a primal flare so I can see that it is enchanted. Or...
Okay. I can give you a primal flare roll.
you probably should have done that in this story. They all glow.
That might get you enough right.
He has an enchanted sword, though.
Skills.
You're gonna suck your soul or something.
Oh, I failed by one.
Failed by one. You can try again.
It's like a life sucking sword that goes the wrong
It's at
way.
your fingertips. Just grab it.
I will. Try again. Still failed by one.
You can give me another roll if you want.
It's almost there. It's almost there.
Am I causing myself bad stuff?
You don't think so?
All right,
How's
one
the
more
sword
time.
dropping?
A magical rift.
5. Is it a 4 or
4.
6?
It's a 4. So
4?
I'm at
Alright.
12. And rolled, I failed by 2 again. So I pause. I
Do it again.
I toss out my pull one of my cloths out.
Okay.
Look both ways, make sure nobody's around. Toss it out. Set the Kopish in it. Otherworldly, not of this world. Huh. Pull the Kopish back out. I don't know if the two will interact. Slide on my belt, pull my coat around it, and walk.
Okay.
Cab or my car or whatever it is.
Alright. Alright, anyone else? Otherwise, ball coming up? Yep.
Cream dog.
Cream dog. For the most part, using like a...
quarter of sample.
Okay. You can give you perception-based alchemy. You'll end up using like an applicator, which is essentially a cloth on a long stick.
It's a finely made stick.
Yep. It's a scientific applicator. It's just far enough where the dog can't get me.
Get the neck chained up and you run it between its ears.
Yep.
Can only be good.
What is that? 12, 16. Fail by 2.
That's a 16.
I think I should lock this.
Sure. Do whatever you want to do.
Or that, I guess it's failed by 1. Okay.
Sounds like luck's coming online.
Yep. Okay, so there's a 9.
You gotta roll the others, though. So got a 3.
Okay. For the most part, it seems as though the skin shortly thereafter kind of starts to flake. But you can see that probably close to about, you'd say, 15 to 20 minutes later, you can slowly, as the creature, you kind of bait it into paying attention to like a chunk of meat in the corner. And you end up taking a kind of a long, I wouldn't say pliers, but like a long, what the hell is it?
Just call it an apple.
You take a long apparatus and kind of peel back some of the skin, and it seems to flake off. The underlying skin seems to be relatively pink and new. It seems to be a little bit tighter. It seems as though it's worked.
I'd use a primal flare or something like that to see if anything bad happened, magically or something.
Good.
Okay, primal flare. That's not good. Fail by 1.
Nothing. You can take longer or just
Another primal
roll.
Yeah.
Another primal flare. It's the cool thing to do.
All the kids are doing it these days.
So, pass by 2.
For the most part, the skin on the top of his head that you applied the amount to seems to be brighter than normal. Not hugely so, but it's noticeable if somebody would be using this cream. Based on, you can give me another roll after another hour or so.
For a primal flare?
Yep.
So that is fail by 1.
Number 1, no whammies or anything?
Or no, I guess it's a pass by 0 since completely goes.
Okay. You can see that it's slowly fading away, but you'd imagine within the first 24 hours of using the cream, there definitely is a noticeable primal energy, and you imagine that just from the application of some of the vital essence in the area. It does seem like the tissue is genuinely newer. You're not sure how, without dissecting the creature, it's hard to tell how deeply it penetrated, but it looks like the outside skin was definitely affected. He seems to be eating and otherwise fine. He seems to have the same, you're not really like, you could theoretically sedate him and try to get like a closer examination, but otherwise he looks fine.
I guess I'll rub another quarter on him and come back later to see how he's doing in a while.
Okay. Coming back like early the next day, the skin seems to be pretty much, it looks like it's flaked off and then the new skin is underneath, and it looks really good. There's no new hair growth in those regions. It's still kind of a little bit sporadic, but otherwise the skin seems to be very lush.
Okay.
Not lush, but pinkish, healthy, less wrinkled, tighter.
I'll need to go to the costume shop then.
Okay.
Does anybody have any ideas for something that has knives?
Pretty much the theory.
Or the backup theory is like futuristic. Look, I have a rocket gun, but it doesn't work. Because the rocket guns aren't like mass marketed.
No, not at all. It's friggin' G.U.R.P.S pistol.
One of a kind, handcrafted.
Yep.
Okay, so I guess go
You
futuristic.
can put some wings on the side of the gun, glue them on.
What time
It's
is
the
the
airplane.
Rocketeer?
Shoots little tiny
Is that the
airplanes.
1930s?
I want to say like the early 1930s as a Rocketeer. I don't know that for certain.
You get a jetpack.
Yeah.
What do you want to be dressed as? Sometimes I take what
Or alien. Space
Just
suit.
as Lance.
You can give me a body language.
Maybe you should let Jeb at me.
Oh, 665.
665. You're using Cthulhu dice?
No,
Okay.
Cthulhu dice.
All right. What's your body? How much did you miss your body language by?
I won.
You're not sure.
Puddin' wants to be
Oh my
waxed.
gosh, well then what
Colored as a
fits
jelly
in
bean.
with
You want to be
the
shaved
Merlin
and tarred?
Morgan Le Fay
Painted like a
deal?
jelly bean.
They could put tiny wings on Puddin' and make him kind of like a pseudo dragon. Like a pseudo dragon, familiar?
Dyes for bleach it first, then dye it green.
No,
Or they could dye Puddin' black.
nope, I don't
For
think
Morgan
they
Le
would
Fay.
like that.
You can tell Pudding to jump up on the chair if she wants the little fey wings.
Okay, I'll do that then.
The costume designers are a little bit cautious of your cat kind of moving around, but it seems like Puddin' ultimately drags out a small pair of child's bunny ears?
What's the deal?
Your cat is no bunny.
It doesn't really fit your theme, but your cat seems to be set on it.
Alright then.
It's hanging in the papoose with the bunny ears.
Yeah.
Sitting there looking. It's gonna rock. It's really rock that
Yep.
Merlin outfit.
Seems like you're Merlin and Morgan Le Fay. What's with the cat rabbit? It is.
It's a spell gone wrong. Exactly.
All right, you can purchase that if you want.
How much is that?
I'd probably say, maybe like $1.
Okay.
$1.
Yeah,
I think there used to be like 10 cents. 20 cents.
I'll probably say it's $1 of the time period.
So,
Rabbit
for
ears probably around
clarification,
$10.
it's like a futuristic suit thing with rocket gun holes.
Well, they don't have a lot of time. Definitely, if you're going to some event like this, you should have told them days ago. So they'll kind of give you a little bit of.
Right? Because Dog took 1 day, so.
That was later. You waited a couple hours. You're kind of midday the first day, so they only have about 1 day to get this to you before you have to go for the thing. And then you have to come in for the fitting, and they don't necessarily want their work on your body, and it's not even. You didn't even give enough time, and they get all kind of theatrical
Can I make a
on
sex
you.
appeal roll?
You can give you a sex appeal.
A little snap.
You can get you something generic
That is
off the
not
shelf,
good.
but
It's a duty talking to you, right?
huh?
Just to clarify.
Yeah, sure.
With sex
Yeah.
appeal. Okay.
Well, it failed, so.
Well, you gotta tell them what you failed
That's what I'm
by.
talking
Yeah,
about.
what'd you feel by?
Those are Cthulhu dice, right?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but there's a 4 there.
Yeah, I know.
It's safe.
It's still fail.
Okay, so. Gives me a 14. Failed by 2.
You might not get a suit.
For the most part, I mean, they tell you to come back tomorrow. They take your measurements. They'll see what they can do. Coming back the next day, it's probably later into the evening when they call you back for remeasurements, and they kind of put some pieces on you, remove some pieces. You're not sure what's part of the final product. Is they kind of just be like, yeah, maybe, no, it's wrong. Seems like they're overly agitated at you. Ultimately, what kind of price range were you looking at originally?
150.
All right, I'll try to do what they can. They do come up with, I suppose, a partly kind of rubber suit with like some fins on the back and some other things like that. It's almost some sort of like not retro, but it's some sort of weird lizard future man kind of
I reject
suit.
this suit
It's a
and go
little bit
buy a suit.
uncomfortable, and you're not quite sure what kind of fever dream they had where they put this together.
I reject this suit and go buy a suit across the street.
Well, you owe
That's
You
them.
normal.
already put the money down.
Well, what did they get you? I wasn't listening.
So you and
He wanted a
See.
future suit
Can I
with all kinds of
default?
snazzy things, and they only gave him a fucking day.
Can I default to Primal Blast from a Primal Flare?
Not really, no.
So you and Frank will be going as a pair then. Deep one, deep one.
Deep wooden lovers.
What retribution can I do?
The
Let's
yin and the
see.
yang and the deep.
Okay, we can go to her
This is
while
your
I'm
own
thinking
damn
about
fault.
a way
You
of
let
blowing
them
up the
pick.
shop.
So right, you got your costume, you have yours, you have what is it? Your suit, and then your what is it? You have your own domino mask.
This Merlin robes, I'm giving you like +1 to hold out.
I would say so, but like you'd be a little bit worried if you pull something really quickly with the suit, you could like destroy a strap that's authentic.
What? Oh my gosh. Crazy.
However, you could put a wand on the outside, and it would look part of the suit.
I'm gonna do the one.
Okay.
Can I also wear one of those not lizards, because I don't want one of those. One of
The only
those,
thing about that is you notice that during the party you would be opening up your collar because it doesn't let out any kind of moisture
Too
or
hot?
heat. It just
Oh,
gets really
shit.
hot. And those of you that are wearing it throughout the day, probably every 15 minutes or so, are talking to somebody like, "Where did you guys put the book? I mean,
Or
seriously now."
draining the
And they're just kind of,
ball
Glass of
yeah.
water. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And they, I mean, if you ever got immersed in ice water, they're extremely insulated. But yeah, they're for somebody that might be cold-blooded.
You gotta have B build the tubes underneath. Have it circulate.
Can I do a perception
Oxide.
check
Oh,
to
she
see
did that
from
for you.
cop experience to see
Oh,
if
she
there's
hasn't
anything
done it. She
shady
doesn't
going
know
on
yet.
at the shop?
That's what she needs to do.
You can give me a streetwise.
So, pass by 4.
It doesn't seem so. It seems as though the individual is very worried that his costume is going to go with you to a very extravagant ball, and you didn't give him nearly enough time, even though you paid him very well for the deal. And then he had some sort of like, well, I'm going to try to make this the best thing I've ever made, but I only have 24 hours, and just some sort of feverish dream he had the night prior where he's like, this is all going to come together, and he puts it together, and he's like, this is shit, but I have to give it to this guy. I just don't know what to do because he's going to be leaving soon for this party, and What does he want from me?
I'm rude.
Can I do a diplomacy to say I will not accept this?
You could give me a diplomacy, yeah.
You can always take it, walk away, put a suit on it, and go get a domino mask and jump that way.
No. $150.
Does he
He's
have
getting a
other
near full.
costumes?
Pass
other than-
by 9.
By 9.
Or wait, is it the 9 Q? Pass by 10.
He could refund half of your money and give you another stock costume he has here. He has a Peter Pan outfit that might fit you fairly well.
I think that's for the guy who's dating a man.
He says, is there something wrong with that?
I was
Remember, you were using
I
sex
will-
appeal on him earlier.
Yeah.
It's a horrible effect.
Yeah,
but you
where
were
are you
using
going
it.
with this?
assumed a
You're giving him
costume
mixed
store would have
gestures.
a
I don't...
female.
Yeah. What's that? No, it's a dude you're talking the whole time.
Well, I failed the sex appeal, so that'd be like.
I
I
know,
feel
exactly.
Do you want my body rubbing my face? And you're like, what are you doing? I don't know. Stop that.
It was disturbing to him. You're over there. Oh yeah, I like that. Huh?
Yep.
I expressed that I would just like my money back.
He can give you back 125. You'll have to keep 25 for the expenses on just the material that he's used thus far and his time.
I will accept this
All right.
and later burn it down.
He says next time you need to give him at least a few days to work on something like this, or you can't expect quality.
Okay, I will go to the suit store across the street and buy a nice suit.
Not across the street, but yeah, somewhere you can ultimately get a nice suit. How much do you want to spend?
Off the shelf.
$150.
$150? Sure, they can tailor something that they have here, expedite it.
Sure.
You can probably get a $400 or $500, or is it a $40, $50 suit, but you can get it tailored specifically to you in time for tonight.
Okay.
What kind of a suit?
So it's a $50 suit that costs $150.
Well, because they want it tailored to him within the day.
Yep.
Like, it is probably
Is it
11
nice
a.m. and
enough?
he needs this for midnight tonight.
I was
Is
just
it nice
clarifying.
enough?
It's
Well-
the equivalent of a $400 suit now. It's very nice. You're not sure if it's Rockefeller nice, but it's nice.
Okay.
It fits you well.
I'll go
Does it
with
fit
that.
the theme of the gyrocket?
You ever remember that
Oh,
that
that's out of there.
that little scene from Highlander where what is it? Sean Connery goes in. He's like, "I need a suit today," and he's like, "We can't make a suit today." And he gives him an antique pearl earring. He's like, "I need a suit today." And he's like, "Yes, well, that's what the gentleman like for today." So they have a bunch of people kind of tailoring the suit for you. There you go.
Okay.
Otherwise, for the most part, you guys are aware of the address. What is it? You have the invitation for your individuals. You have plus
wait,
ones if you want to take them with
I'm
you.
gonna ask Elfie if we should prepare any kind of sigils and crap ahead of time.
She pauses for a moment. She's like, "Oh, is this an investigation?" She didn't realize. She thought this was a legitimate event you were taking to
Did you ever
her.
tell anybody that you're bringing someone along?
No.
She says that she didn't bring her wards with her. She didn't know.
We can make more.
She says she has charms at home. There's probably not enough time to get back, but she didn't. She thought that you were just taking to her nice party.
We are, but I want to make sure.
All right, she'll start to draw some. She can't damage the suits themselves. She'll try to draw something on an undershirt. Yeah.
That day I'll get some ink and basically I draw a sigil on each of my palms.
Okay. Give me symbol drawing.
And then
I didn't think about it. I was excited.
take my time. It's 15, or excuse me, 14, so don't get excited. Okay. This would be a 13, so it'd be by 3. So 3.
What do we have here? Looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I'd probably say theoretically there are some things that could smudge the runes if you have the right chemical compounds, but simple soap shouldn't wash it off right away.
Okay. I'll get a pair of white gloves to go with the suit.
Okay.
So I can put that, and then I'll do the same thing with my bottom of my feet.
Okay.
Do a symbol on both
Yep.
feet.
Kind of look at the bottom of your feet, and then you kind of have a little mirror that you kind of put your foot over in here.
Just kind of bend it up or whatever, draw the same thing. So I kind of
Okay.
again,
You
just
give me the roll.
temporary. Well, that's a 3, so that's much better. I permanently
You feel-
marked my feet.
You feel pretty confident on the ones on your feet.
And then I'll draw a sigil on the upper floor of the, like, we still have kind of our bunk room at the Bureau Group.
Yep. The upper story is a studio room with
Studio
multiple
room.
smaller rooms off from
Okay,
it.
so in my room on the floor, I'll paint a sigil.
Okay. Give me a simple drawing around as well.
So that one is going to be 7, so is that 9?
Okay. Yep, that's definitely good.
Okay. And then I'll just double check on the warehouse to make sure that the stone is there. Actually, I'll visually inspect it to make sure that there's nothing, no shenanigans with it.
Now you can tell that there is a lot of alchemical. I suppose there's tanks and other things of that nature that look very similar to some things that Legendre had in his operation. So obviously somebody's been going back through some of the books.
Okay.
It doesn't look like there's anything terribly nefarious other than there is a lot of strange science happening in the warehouse.
Okay. And then I'll take Gertie. I'll leave her on my mattress,
Okay.
loaded. So
Now, is the painted sigil on your floor, is the mattress in the middle of that, or is the mattress kind of beside it?
it would be unobstructed.
Okay.
So if I have to take my furniture out and put it in the hallway, that's what I
You know that it'd probably be easier if Gertie was sitting in the middle of that sigil.
Okay, well, Gertie has its own sigil on it, right?
Yep, but it's always easier if the sigil can completely encompass the
Okay.
object.
All right.
It's if you have a starting sigil and an end sigil, that's the best. That's good right there.
Yeah.
But then there's small
I gotcha.
issues given that it's not you're using a small sigil to move an entire object.
Gotcha.
If it's completely within inside something like Angus Urquhart used to stack ammunition and other things inside of a large sigil
Yeah.
somewhere.
All right, so basically I put Gertie in there, and then I take all my sigil mark ammo and stack it up there.
Yep. The ammunition could easily fit on a very small sigil that
Right.
might be on, like, say, the interior of gun chamber or something like that. But
Yeah. Well, the gun has it, but that way I can teleport it from my room into the gun.
okay.
It'll come loaded with 2 rounds, and then I will spatially mark my feet and hand, I guess. If I don't spatially mark the one in my room, does that just makes it slightly harder? But
It doesn't make it harder for you. It makes it easier for you if it's spatially marked.
okay. But then it's detectable by others, right? So
And that's the idea. It's kind of like with your spatial sense when you have it passively just kind of around you and everything else beyond a certain distance is dark. It's kind of like the lights on the ramp to a airplane landing zone.
Yeah.
What is it there? The landing
lights.
strip.
Yeah.
The landing lights.
Okay.
So you might be aware that the airport is down there, but the landing lights clearly show you, oh, there it is right there, and I can line everything up. That's what spatial mark generally does.
okay.
It's a beacon light for you to see what the hell's going
So
on.
what if I spatially marked like one of the ammunitions has got the signal on it, and I had it outside of the circle, but just near it? Would that give me the reference to know then where the bigger one is without spatially marking the big one?
You roughly have an idea because you've physically been here before.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't give you a bonus on teleporting the other stuff, but if you try to grab that round specifically, it'd be easier.
Okay. All right. I'm not going to spatially mark that.
Because the worry about the large one is if somebody else could see it, then
Exactly. They can do what they want with it. I kind of want a
Theoretically.
rabbit hole.
Yep.
That's my idea with it. And then the Steely Stone's permanently marked, so I don't need to do anything.
Yeah, anyone looking for something like
Right,
that,
that's
if you
what
did a
allows.
large steely sense within a city, you would pick that up immediately.
Right. And then, of
The
course,
same with Russia and those other locations. And if you physically had access to the stone, you could search in a huge radius, planetary, for other ones that are connected to it.
Okay. So they would be able to sense my hand and feet, basically. Is that
If you spatially mark them, then someone could in the region possibly pick that up.
Right.
However, I mean, you got to imagine who actually has access to the abilities
Yeah.
to do this.
Yeah.
So theoretically, somewhere down the line, that could
right?
open a vulnerability somewhere.
Right. But it makes things easier for me.
Yep.
Who told us about this event?
I'll make
It
you.
was delivered by a courier to the Obduro Brooklyn building.
Where does it take place again?
Long Island.
Takes Long Island. Yep.
How hard would it be to teleport from there to my estate?
You'd need some sort of. You wouldn't need some sort of. You'd prefer some sort of ending sigil. You don't have anything in Long Island right now.
But if I put one down, because I have 2 of those ones he...
Not horribly difficult.
Okay.
If you have a starting and an ending point, it's fairly simple.
Okay.
provided you don't dick it up too badly.
I do share with you at the beginning of the evening.
All right,
what
I'm
I've
gonna go to the
got.
bathroom really quick, but you guys decide. Otherwise, I'll send it.
So I'll share that with you, Professor, what I have marked out already, so that you can use it if you need it. So I tell you, I'm not gonna. If you tell me that you're setting sigils up, I'd tell you not to mark one of them, so that it's kind of off the grid. So that you could draw it in your bedroom, but don't spatially mark it, because if you need to teleport out, you don't want to advertise that it's a destination.
Well, we have that one activated on my estate, don't we?
Yep, you've got that one there. Plus, then there's the sigil that's in the warehouse. The people, everybody knows. Anybody that can spatially sense can, whatever. Anybody that can sense space knows that those exist, right? So, in theory, if we're fleeing from somebody who's going to destroy us, they could have a nasty surprise waiting for you because they know that that's a place you could go. Whereas the one you set up in your bedroom, it's not marked. They don't know about that one. It's a little harder, but it's safer.
Safer in a different way. Not safer in the you're going to start flaying yourself way, though.
Then when Althea shows up, I asked you, why did you think about bringing a guest? You realize we're going into like a combat zone, right?
Possibly.
These things always go bad. Always go bad. When was the last time we went to a party and we didn't end up with mass deaths
I
associated
think
with
she
it?
can help.
She can. You just need to tell her.
I did.
I'll try my best to protect her, but I'm sure you will too.
Yeah.
So how are we getting weapons then? Just in our tablecloths, concealed?
I'm not going to bring any weapons.
Okay, Mr. Magic.
Exactly.
How are you getting a weapon?
I am a weapon.
I have purchased this Kopesh, and I'm going to hang it on my belt to be incorrectly armored, but
Yeah, it's like a sword.
it's a sword.
I will throw a primal flare, which I can't do until he's here.
You can roll. I'll tell you what it does. But what I really want to know is, Jolene, can you turn off the computer so that we can really see what we think about you? So how was your trip?
It was good.
And you guys went where again?
Prague, that's where his mom and dad wanted to go. And,
Also, you went with his folks, okay?
Yeah, and they didn't have anything planned, so it's like babysitting the elderly.
That's awesome. But you had a fun time nonetheless.
Yeah, we had planned out a trip to Austria, so we went by train there. But we had set everything up like the Vienna card, which gives you 72 hours free going on the buses, trams, subway, all that. And we got really good deals on our apartment/hotel. It was only like $47 a day.
Oh, cool.
It was right by the subway entrance, and it was pretty fun there. We got to go to the military museum and the zoo. But in Prague, his parents got robbed.
Serious? They got mugged or something?
They couldn't shut their door because of the way the carpet was. And so instead of telling the clerk downstairs either have it fixed or move us to a different room, they just left it.
Oh, no.
So somebody somehow got in there and they had a lookout, and the lookout shouted to him, and he ran out with Ben's dad's pants. So he stole his pants.
Oh, okay, so they didn't lose, like, money or anything like that.
No, luckily they didn't. They had a large amount of money and jewelry and their passports and all that stuff, and he
Oh, my
didn't get a
goodness.
chance. He stole his pants.
Alright.
He failed his scrounging roll. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you stole my pants. You probably had the wallet in there, so.
We ran into a couple beggars and a couple pickpockets, but the only people that stole money from us is the taxi cab people. 'Cause they...
Quit turning the mic back on now.
No, what is it? So where are we here?
I'm casting primal flare
We're all getting together for the
For
first
where?
time.
Where one?
Whoa.
at his sword.
Wait, come on, back up.
Okay.
When I get the sword, get in my car, so I can't cast Primal Flare, I get in my truck,
By
and I
3?
drive to the chantry,
Okay.
and I say, I got this sword, having some trouble figuring out what it is. You guys, tell me what it is. I want to make sure it's magical or something like that.
Okay.
And can you just cast some Primal Flares on it or tell me what it is?
But you said you were trying to cast a Primal Flare on it?
Because he was showing it to us.
Yep.
So.
Either one of
This
you
is
can
like
give
the
me.
next day when we get together. I want to do this right
Okay.
immediately after I.
You guys can give me a thaumatology then. But you wanted to go to the chantry the night prior?
The day after I picked it up.
Okay. So I suppose you can wait on the thaumatology. You just rolled, I'm sorry. Vote is in. Going to the chantry, what did you want them to have?
Basically, I just acquired this weapon from a group of people that might be vampires. I don't know I was referred there. It kind of spooks the hell out of me, but I went through with the deal, and I want to know what I got. I'm just not that good with spells to do it myself. Can somebody give me a hand?
They can take a look at it for you. They can identify that it does seem to be Tremere blood magic. That's a clan of vampires. The clan used to. What they'll tell you is the clan actually used to be made up.
It just gets better, Chris.
There used to be a house specifically in the what have you, the Ordo Hermes, or at least the one of the 12 houses originally. That their forefounder determined that he found some ritual using vampire blood, allowing all of them to live forever, essentially tapping into his immortality without the drawbacks of being a vampire. It didn't work out. So they're a bunch of mystically inclined vampires.
Are they generally predators, or are they?
They just took your blood, so.
They need blood to not necessarily survive, but to be active. So they do feed on humans.
Yeah, okay.
They say that the sword actually is genuine, though. It does seem to have certain enchantments about it, and they believe that it should damage mystical entities similar to how a normal blade would injure normal people. You can determine with the Primal Flare that it is, in fact, what is it? It is, in fact, a, what have you, a magical object, and you detect maybe there's a small amount of primal resonance to it, meaning there'd be something to deal with its metaphysical nature has been changed. Otherwise, you'd find that there's a strong, I suppose, there's I'd say a hint of a biological / life force resonance, maybe even a dark resonance there, but they're kind of aftertaste to the main primal resonance.
But you're okay with it because you're a necromancer.
I'm kidding. I'm a necromancer.
Learns one spell. I'm a necromancer.
Well, I learned 3 actually that are net.
Exactly. He's
Three.
learned
Well, you were
three.
calling
See?
yourself a necromancer. You were calling you a necromancer after 1. So.
I learned the
It's not in the dark
life
path.
view life force, which I got the cool tattoos. I learned to spell also to.
It's all kinds of good, right, Professor?
So I'm going to put my pistol holsters with rocket pistols and stuff in the little tablecloth, and then
Wrap around yourself like a scarf.
sure, I'm going to conceal it on my person somehow. Is it palming?
Hold out.
It's a tablecloth.
Well, it can be folded up pretty small.
Mind you, it is a fairly large tablecloth, so it'd be difficult to put it in your top pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll just pull it up and make it look like a handkerchief. It's just huge.
Exactly. Looks like a small backpack there.
I guess, is there any way to conceal
wrap
it?
it like a
Yeah,
turban.
you could make it like a hump. You could go in there, kind of Fozzie style.
The thing is, there could be various means in which you want to hold out it. You could attach it
Seek turban.
into the interior of your clothing in some way.
You have a
Or
holster.
wrap it around your person, kind of like a...
Could I fit
the
a
hell-
holster under my suit? Like I have arm holsters, and
Yeah, theoretically, right?
I'll just go with arm holsters.
Something
Then.
like bulk deal.
And yeah, I'll put rocket pistol, normal gun,
Okay.
Why are you bringing guns?
and
That's his
all
main-
of my knives too. Well,
Just like why did you,
Right.
why did you
You
describe
can give me a
sigils on
holdout.
your hands and feet?
hold out.
Yep.
Because I don't want them to know
Or you
that
can
I have a
default
weapon.
off IQ.
Exactly.
But they're going to know he has a weapon.
There was something else I had taken for like concealing.
They might not be frisking at the door.
Do you know of any others?
Then again, if you
Smuggling?
pull in like an elephant rifle, and they're like, "That's real."
Well, if I do
no,
that,
it's part of the costume.
if I do that,
it's loaded.
if I do that, there's already going to be lots of screaming and running anyway, so we probably won't even notice the elephant rifle.
What about smuggling?
If it was in an object, like a trunk of a car or something like that, yeah.
Would you be willing
What
to
about
put
in a
my
turban?
Thompson in a sigil that could be drawn in?
A series of
Turban,
knives and a
if I do
turban.
it,
Yeah.
I bring it to myself.
Well, I was thinking.
That's a pretty nice turban. Don't pat the
okay,
turban.
yeah.
Everything's just neatly in there.
I was
So,
knives
in a
and
circle.
boots,
throw
like
it in a
or
circle,
shoes.
so.
Yeah.
So
That's a long-standing
it
tradition.
takes some extra
Okay.
ammunition to the
Do you
side
know
of
how
it,
like
so
Dexter
comes
rolls
So
out
I'm
his
making an
knives,
IQ
IQ
roll.
roll.
and they have like little individual slots?
Pass by 6.
It should be fine. I mean, you don't notice it offhand, but
I mean, I have police experience with hiding guns.
No. you would recognize.
That would be
Holdout is for the skill relating to that. You feel as though it looks fairly, I said, adequately hidden. What's your observation?
Observation.
Yep, what's your observation? You don't have to make a roll. I just need to know your level.
Checking. 17.
You know confidently that you could eyeball this work on somebody else, but the average Joe Schmo shouldn't be able to see this.
Okay.
But if you and another guy had the same amount of holdout and you kind of went in, you're like, you have 2 pistols in your arms and boots, or was it knives in your boots? And you're like, so do you? And you're like, all right, let's just not say anything then. Let's move along.
Okay.
I did have a bit of an outburst when Thea Montrose came in with the professor. I'm like, what is she doing here? We're going into a war zone.
Althea Montrose, you can see, does now have like a... It's surprising because she's like in outfit and it looks as though she has planned for this. However, she seems to be a bit nervous and apprehensive about the whole thing, as though like this just suddenly came upon her.
Yep.
So she's like here, she's dressed up really nice and she's nervous and she's looking around.
There's a few statements that said, like, Professor, every one of these things we've gone to, people have died at.
We don't know that, but as a precaution, I just wanted to make sure she's okay because it seems that bad things follow us. But she
As you guys
already
are
knows
like
that.
kind of together, and she'll get her things and come up, and she's like, "So do we know for sure if something bad's happening? Because I thought this was a normal gallant party."
Yeah. I closed it with, I'll try my best to protect you. I'm sure the professor will as well.
So,
She could have brought charms and then with her. She
I
didn't
will
know.
open it with, how many do we think they're sacrificing?
we have, how do I say it? Maybe a overzealous protectionist spirit. This may be just a wonderful night, but from my research, his last one was Sodom, and he got pushed off the front page by what this group did.
So we're going to a
check
man's party that has a vendetta against you.
Because
might
I
have
say
done.
he
Might. He could be gracious,
No.
but they bombed his last movie or play,
And
and they just beat it up horribly across the
drove him
board.
to the insane asylum. It only gets better. We're going to be on an island surrounded by water. The deep ones will come. The island will probably sink. I'm only taking
They
bets
just
on
let
it.
him out.
They just
No,
you do not tell her that they just let him out to the asylum.
2 months ago. I don't know what the professor was thinking.
She'll sit there, not sure quite what to do, but obviously that situation where she's like, "All right, this is happening. All right."
Well, now that you're...
Yeah, but she was there with the ghouls, so
Has your
She says that she didn't. She felt way over her head, given the whole city was taken over by ghouls too.
we don't know
Has your membership
anything
gone
that's
through
gonna
with
happen.
Ordo?
Yeah, for the most part, she's on a probationary time period, but she was able to use the chantry ways. So
Oh, good. They
Well,
heal
how
wounds.
how long would it take to go to the chantry ways to get her stuff then?
close to about 9 hours, and it's already probably 5 p.m.
We got to be going. I need to drive us there.
You're driving
Hell yeah, I'm not letting you drive or anybody else for God's
for a
sake.
car.
I'm
I'm
driving.
guessing.
Move over then.
No, I'm driving.
Oh my
No,
God.
he's got
You
some
don't
kind
know-
of mystic driving
you don't
going
even know
on
where
here.
you're going.
You can tell me where to go and I'll
You
drive.
still... No, it does not work that way.
Yep. It's just
I
they don't
Wait,
know
no.
where they're going.
No.
Excellent
Are you getting
driver.
bad? No, I'm not doubting your driving abilities, but your comprehensions of distances
You can
and
tell me.
directions is
I think
practically...
he uses subtle teleports and dimensional holes to get us there faster.
I'm already
That works.
starting to get a migraine just thinking about the ignorance you have as it comes to directions.
He's just
You just give me the
accumulating
keys.
paradox driving. Is that what this is?
I think he just has a really good...
He's not aware of any effect that he's using. It's just other
No.
people don't know where the hell they're going.
Exactly. You're all retarded. It's not your fault. It's just how you
What
are.
is the fastest way? Over there.
Exactly.
I just point to the corner in the room.
I have pretty good area knowledge of Northern Europe.
I don't have time for
It's tunnels, it's byways.
He has a good idea of Northern Europe, right? Because that's applicable here.
Yeah,
And Long Island.
I quit listening.
That's why
I have the
I
keys,
defer
Professor?
to him. Drive on.
I'm not going to do anything bad with your car. I'm going to drive us nice. I'm going to take us there. You trust me with your life. You're going to trust me in your life in a little bit here when all hell breaks loose. So.
You told me to use psychology on that lady that, like, drained my will.
Well, yeah. And then
Why can't I just drive?
Because you're going to drive me insane because you don't know how to get there.
Why can't you tell me?
Because your brain can't comprehend the words I will be telling you.
Althea Montrose leans over to you. What's going on here? I don't understand what's happening between them.
Neither do I.
I
He's
wish I
got
had
some.
a brawling sedate or something.
I think he's got some really good area knowledge and driving concepts.
We're wasting time.
That's
here.
her
Can you just
car.
give me the keys?
His car. It's his car. He wants to drive his car.
Is this a nice enough car to
And
show
he's
off
like
in?
going,
Yeah.
It's pretty
Why?
nice, but once again, it's relative. I mean, if there's going to be Rothschilds, like, look at my really nice car, and they come, they're like, do they even make those?
I will not
Where'd
be
you take
pulling
that?
up to the front gates. We'll be parking in the back and walking through the back.
Fine, you can drive it, but you'll owe me if you crash it.
That's fair enough, unless it's in the
Yeah.
line of duty. In
So
which case,
he'll
I'll
owe me
expense it.
more.
I take the keys.
What, you're gonna use money to reimburse me?
Well, no, but if it's destroyed on a bureau business, I'm sure the company will reimburse it. I go walking over to the driver's seat.
All right.
Alright, I'll be at Montrose. I'll open her door and
All right. She thanks you.
buckle up.
She does. She does take that to heart. She does buckle up and kind of get her things together. You guys ultimately drive off to Long Island. You guys make it there, and
I
can
don't-
you give me nav land?
I don't do
Can
anything crazy. I just drive speed
Yep.
limits.
Can
and
I hold my tablecloth underneath my wizard cloth?
You have a lot of wizardly robes, so if you give me a holdout, you'll get a bonus to it.
Okay, because I also have a belt that I do my
Yep.
wand on. So hold on.
Any of you guys can give me a land nav. If you want to. Otherwise, you just don't.
no, I'm just kicking back. And I will,
3x7.
I will, figure out a way to put the Kopesh on my belt.
Yep.
And then, is it kind of dangerous to the open blade, or does it seem like it might be in close quarters and stuff like that?
It looks like a very old weapon. You are aware that it's incredibly sharp and well maintained. So other individuals might be like, well, yeah, it's just part of the costume. But yeah, theoretically, you could turn quickly and cut someone's knee pretty badly.
I'll get a piece of leather made early this day because I'll go to a leather worker and sit down and I want him to put a heavy edge of leather in here and a simple strap to go to the edge I can pop off real quick and put a snap or something on it.
Yeah.
That covers the edge, or loops around it and I can snap it off and it just unfolds off.
Yep, they can do that.
Just something that it will go. So
Yep. All right. Otherwise, what is it? With your land nav of 7. Surprisingly, he doesn't seem to go that fast, but you guys make it there by car in probably about 40 minutes, which is really surprising. You'd imagine it would have took an hour at most, and you don't know. I suppose you weren't fully aware of, like, I suppose you know the directions he went, but it's just weird. Otherwise, when you guys arrive, near the front, it seems as though almost the entire 3 or 4 blocks around this area.
Is this a good
seem-
spot to stop? I see
Yep,
she's
I'm-
shutting on the light.
I'm gonna.
Or you just want to do a little recap thing? or
I'm just
something? Okay.
telling you what's happening.
Yeah.
In the 3 or 4 blocks around the region, essentially they're cleared out completely. There's no other traffic that you can end up seeing. You can see that there are police barricades in certain areas, as though the local police are actually assisting this whole thing going on. And you can see there's Japanese paper lamps all the way down. And you can see that there are just beautiful, beautiful, extremely expensive limousines just parked all throughout the block in front of this huge manor. And farther up, as you guys are kind of going through some of the security here, for the most part, they don't pat you down or anything else, but you do know that the local police department is providing security for the event. And coming into the area, you can see that you're pretty confident that they're bringing in spirits and other liquors and other things of that nature, which should be illegal. Yep. And the police are right here, and you look over, and no one seems to mind this happening. So you're not sure. You're not sure what's quite happening here, but yeah. Money. That's what's. We'll leave off right there.
And
2 per right now.
No, I